Quay greetings. Um, we are back again. March has just been very, very video oriented for which would really be the new year for indigenous, right? Um, you know, I think part of the reason for the many videos is because something is starting to gel within me that I think I don't want to break the mold, if I could say. And I have to keep revisiting it. And right as of today, I feel like I got a download that I have to share with any indigenous listening, as well as anyone who's interested in our government. It all it really does boil down to how the government has reshaped itself, as well as reshaped the people, the men and women of the United States of America. Um, okay, so as I'm going through this process, and we talk about enumerated powers. Now, for the indigenous, the quick thing I want to say in those enumerated powers, there was nothing about you, the American Indian, in those powers. So off the top, or at the top, or off the bat, whatever you want, we we um we are seeing that how did you grow to become an entity that has plenary? Now we read, and we might peek at that same document again, although it makes me sick to my stomach. We read that entry in Wikipedia, which is talking about tribal powers, right? Or tribal sovereignty or whatever, tribal government, whatever. And we learned that Congress has plenary, complete, total authority over Indians or Indian tribes. That was not mentioned in the enumerated uh, duties. The 18 to 19 enumerated duties never gave Congress plenary power over American Indian and any real tribe of American Indian. As we know, once they create something, though, if they recreate you, you're theirs, and they can do whatever the hell they want. But what our job is as American Indians is to remind Congress, you did not create us. We were here before you ever showed up. Who the hell are you to tell us what to do? Congress have several seats, but remember, you're only asked to serve or meet once a year. So have several seats once a year because no one told you to come in every day. You're doing too much, Congress. So that's what I wanted to start off with. That was a drop in my lap today. I was like, you know what? I didn't just not really rehearse. It's kind of spur of the moment because it hits me at like that way. So today I think I grabbed, a couple of videos. One I didn't even watch, but it started out so right. I'm like, we're gonna do a reaction to this video together. I didn't even watch the whole thing, but the brother, once again, the Caucasian brother, when they get on this when they start reading the government, we got to listen, okay? Because I'm seeing that. I think I'm seeing, and don't take an offense, indigenous, please don't. It's just something we have to be real with. I think they have a better grasp of the working of the government than we do. But that would make sense to us when you think about it, indigenous. Once we were reclassified as black, we are basically like garbage on the sidewalk that the government, or shit on the government shoe. That, you're there, but you're not there. I don't want you there, but you're there, So that could explain why we have been so discarded by by the United States corporation that we don't understand the authority that we have, which is the superior authority over even the Caucasian, who they're the ones who understand how this shit works. And I have to say it how I feel it. I'm seeing a lot of our people, we really look at the federal corporation as daddy, that we have. Oh, but daddy said don't do that. That's not your daddy. He's lying to you. And I think the real sons, and I say that respectfully, the Caucasians who seem to have more of a grasp of what this corporation is about, because those are they would be really the ones who were supposed to be governed by the corporation. And I say that respectfully. Once we designed that constitution, the Caucasian became basically a sovereign on our land. So America is not stingy, greedy, or Indian giver, whatever the hell, because we had something to do with that original Constitution of 1787, the Continental Constitution. I always forget to call it that because that's a very significant word. Continental. That means it's of the land. It's not on paper. Now, the other two constitutions are not of the land. And that's something else that is, it's coming to me, in drops. Those two constitutions, you have to be recreated into corporate entities to interface with those two, 1789 and the 1790 Constitution. They got jiggy, putting out a new one every year after we gave them the definitive Continental. They just went ahead and said, okay, good, thank you. And they went and reclassified all of us, not just American Indians. Caucasians were free persons. And then they were reclassified as we all were, into United States citizens. They just put us into one nice little chunky bite that they could chew on for as long as we are ignorant to what they're doing. So once again, is this inland terrorism video? No, it's not. Why isn't it? Because I am looking at the first Constitution. I am going by the first Constitution. And see, those indigenous who don't understand the importance of that contract, this is the importance of it. In other words, this is why you don't want to go with any other document, because that would not incriminate the criminals. You got to go with the document that will incriminate the criminals. That's why they made two other constitutions rather quickly, because that first one incriminates the corporation. You don't have a case if you don't have a contract. So we can't just create something new and feel like we have handled our business. No, we haven't. We have to incriminate the criminals so it doesn't happen again. That's what this is about. This is why the Constitution is so very important. It's an incriminating document that they signed, that they went completely against. It is the only thing that stands before the world, before the thrones, the throne of men, the throne of gods. And it says, look what these crooks did. There's no way they can weasel out of that. So that's why we're going to keep it very constitutional up in here, okay? Even though we're learning. There's nothing wrong with learning, especially when you've been so disenfranchised by the entity that was supposed to go by that Constitution that you don't even know that they're not the authority over you. You are the authority over them. Okay, so I've ranted, and I'm going to rant some more, no doubt, as we watch these videos. So uh, sit back and try to enjoy this ride. Yeah, because we got some things to look at here. Because those enumerated powers are just kicking my ass in terms of, I'm like, WTF, what? They're marching forward as if they have all this power, and we are trying to appease them with what everything they're throwing at us. None of it was enumerated. They just changed the game. So they think because they changed the game, now it's a fair game because, oh, look, you can't go by that Constitution anymore. You're a corporate entity now. No, but that just shows your fraud. It shows that this was, what do you call it? It was like a premeditated. There's just something very premeditated in how this went. It's like once you see the trail from Indian and free person to both of them just United States citizens. And now all of a sudden, all these amendments, when the first Constitution only had 3. Now we got what? How many? 14 or whatever. What is it? I don't know. How many of those stupid things, unconstitutional as they are? How many? It don't matter. They don't apply because they were not created within the guidelines of how the Constitution said they would be or should be. So once again, I'm going to share my screen. And first, we're going to look at Anna because let's face it, she just knows her shit when it comes to this. And this is, I'm not saying what I realize is what Anna's doing is really for the foreigner, but we could learn from the foreigner because, again, by this process of what the government did, it gave them a lot more power, more status than the American. Everybody in America has more status than the American Indian. That's what this corporation did. They made it where the true authorities are now the least authoritative on the land. So that's what Congress likes to do. It creates other entities that it can not only have domination over Indians, but Congress controls them because Congress created them. You see, they didn't create us, and that's why they hate us. They can't stand us. They want us gone. They got their little jabs, hoping that would accomplish that. And let me tell you, they're still hoping that it does. Even if you don't get taken out by the jab, you have some kind of shit in your system that Congress believes makes that they own you now. And we have to trace it back to where in Congress, right? Because if you've taken all this power, right? You took all this power, much more than the enumerated ones, then you had the power to stop these corporations from doing what they were doing, or from threatening our jobs. Then you took all this power, but you ain't doing shit to protect us. So that falls in your lap. If I got some technology in my body that Congress could have used all that power that they took unconstitutionally to stop that from happening, they didn't. No, instead they were making these kind of policies and aiding and abetting them instead of protecting us. Doesn't matter, because once we know the truth, no matter what you did, it's only going to serve to incriminate you more. Okay, you got something in people's bodies that they can't take out, or it's going to be very hard. You pay me. And what Anna's doing, basically, she's what do you call it? Dissolving all of this. That's why we really, indigenous, we really got to learn. Let's put our pride aside. It's not about someone. There's a lot of people that know more than the Indians do because they've been better trained. It's not that we're stupid. So this woman knows what she's talking about when it comes to this crap. And all we don't have to, we can do it, we can design it the way we need it to be. Now, I feel like hers is more for, it is for foreigners because we have, they fought, we helped them fight against their lords and masters in England and the UK and all of that. We help. So really, we should be fighting right now together. Because if we learn from history, instead of this foolish black and white, you white people did this, white people, the white people did this, 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 if we learn from history, we'll know that when we fought together, that's when we got out of the bullshit. But they fix it to bring us back in with their secondary constitution. But listen, when we conquered the first time with this damn monarchy, it was together. It was together. That we have to do this together before we segregate. That's just how it's got to be. And those people who think you could alienate Caucasians and win this at this point, when you don't even know how government works, you're deluding yourself. You're just going to fall into the trap again. Now, these people that we're going to listen to, they know what time it is. And I'm going to give them their props, and we need to. If we don't do it together, the indigenous are going to fall for the lies of Congress once again, because we seem to think that they are the authority. I'm realizing how, even the federally recognized tribe, everybody, all these Indians, like I said in my last video, there are no sovereign Indians on anywhere in the America, nowhere, because the way Congress sees them is that you're not civilized. So in other words, you got this entity basically on your tail because they know that you know something about not being a part of them, but you don't know how to maintain not being a part of that and still prosper, because they took over everything. But you got to learn how to come for this entity. And the only people that are doing it, as far as I know, are the state assemblies of Anna von Reitz. This is the only group that I found, and I was looking. That's why I found her. I was looking everywhere. And yes, I did keep coming across these damn Moors, right? When I found her, I realized, okay, this woman is not Moorish, okay? She is not a Moor. And the thing she's talking, the Moors ain't trying to hear. Because truth be told, it would have been the Moors that did all of this. Remember, the Moors are the first asses to recognize this corporation that denationalized the Indian. So right there's your connection. Who was first in line to honor this entity, the British entity? Who was first in line to quote unquote recognize the bullshit? The Moors were. Their homeland that they deny. So they want our homeland so bad that they deny Morocco and call America as Morocco. You gotta be out your blasted mind. Y'all should know better than that. How is Morocco the America when America's way older than Morocco? Yo, you got to stop with your delusional bullshit. Morocco could only be a child to America. We recognize you. We don't need you to recognize us. We're the one that got to recognize your baby ass. We the fucking daddy and the mommy, all right? America, not Morocco. Not even the Morocco in Indiana or wherever that shit is. That shit wasn't around when Columbus was doing his shit with you Moors. There was no such thing as Morocco in Indiana. So what you talking? America was Morocco. You what the fuck you talking? Fucking liars. You fucking liars. That's all the Moor is. If he's not a liar, he's ignorant of his own lies. I'm tired of you Moors trying to take over this awakening. Oh, sit your fast ass down. This is the ancestors talking to you. You can call me whatever you want. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I ain't scared of those fucking Moors. With all their lies. I'd be scared of a liar. Someone who depends on lies to dominate. You better come at us with the truth if you want some respect. Yeah, no, no. The reason why I get so like this is because I can't stand when a liar is lying to me. And I can't stand when they're trying to take something from me that I know is not theirs. That's why I can't stand Moors. Y'all want to, what's over here? Because I see you. Where I don't think a whole lot of Indians do see you. I see you. Even when you don't see you, I see you. I know what you did. I know how you've been the band leader in all of this. It was first you. And you think that we're so stupid, even though your system, because your system makes dummies and tricks everybody, you think we're so stupid that we can't see who's been the one consistent thing, the one thing that is the oldest thing next to the American Indian. It has to be you. It is you. It is you, Moors. That re-educated TV video, it indicted you. You were the Mongols. You've always been trying to take over America with your Mongol, even before you had a religion. Back then, you was all about dragons, because that's your Apep is your god. Set Apep, the chaos deities, storm, war, weather deities. That's what you gave the Mongols. That's why they worshiping a dragon. You turned the malevolent deity into your main deity. That shows us what you are about. Because you were against Tameri. That is why you had to go out. We sent you out. Then you create the Mongols and give them the deity that we saw as a malevolent deity. That became their main deity, dragon. Winged serpents with feathers. Oh, you threw on some feathers? You thought that would make it all right? And from the beginning, we should have known what you're about. You create fictitious entities. There's no such thing as dragon. So you rock with fictitious beings, entities. Even when the Indians used animals, like I said, we used animals that we observed and we knew. You created entities, or you espoused those entities. Now, we will have to admit, Apep was a dragon from Tameri. But notice, those entities are not real life entities. So Tameri was trying to tell us, when you're dealing with something that is not occurring in the world around you, that thing is it's going to be malevolent, because it's coming at you in a way that you could never recognize it, because there's nothing to compare it to. So it's coming at you with something new. And if it's coming at you with something new, it intends to begin the lies. The first lie is that we should be worshiping a dragon. How do you worship an entity? Like I said before, how do you worship an entity that you don't know anything about its characteristics, because you've never seen it in real life? We would have never done that. But thanks to the Moors and their connection with the Mongols, which is, what's their connection? That's their daddy. That's their daddy. Thank you, re-educated TV. So ever since we kicked their asses out, they've been trying to get back in, but they want to come in through the back door. Like I said, the prodigal son, he came in repentance. That's in your storybook, Morris. You need to learn it. But you're coming with more lies. You're coming with redefining us again. You think after all this redefining we done been through, the color, Negro, black, that now you can come and bring a new one. And because you look like me, I'm going to trust you. You're still taking me outside of my proper persona. That's why I cannot stand you. If you want to know, and you why he do throwing him, and I don't care. Again, I don't care what you call me. Game Pete Game. So whatever you see in me more, it's exactly what you are. And hear that. Know what I mean. Whatever you're gonna about to call me, baby, you that's from you. That's you. That's you. That's yeah. And I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. But you see, I still don't buy into your bullshit. I still, no, no, no. You have to go. Here's a word for you, more. Bye-bye. You've done everything to go against the ancient. You've done everything. That's why I cannot rock with you. If I rock with you, I lose my center. I lose my north, my North Star. And I become in a world of chaos where all you're trying to do, evident, is take everything that anybody on earth has and control it in a jurisdiction you created that did not exist, so that you can be like God. No, Moors, no. You could never be that. You could never be that. Your God is a murderer. Set is a murderer. The reason why your Cain never gets punished is because you're a murderer. You see, the first murderer, and he gets away with it. So what happens to all the ones afterwards? Not much. If you lay the groundwork, if the cement was already mixed with some bullshit, it ain't gonna withstand, right? So Cain is your first murderer, right? He gets away with it. That is the precedence right there. That's your world. You might give a show of justice in your little make-believe system, but we know your first murderer got away, and ultimately all the others will. Okay? The God you worship is a murderer. Okay, you're going to say, we don't know nothing about Set. Well, let me tell you. He is the first murderer. And if you are doing that and you are condoning that, that is how you are under set. Do you get it now? You think this is, some people think, oh, that set don't got nothing to do with the Moors. You got to line up your ducks, baby. You got to know who's the first murderer and then see how in their storybooks, how do they deal with the first murderer in their storybook. So you would condone what Set did because your character, your first murderer, got away with it. In fact, he was protected. So we see you, Moors. Okay, many of us still got a little bit of cloud in their eyes, but you're seen. It's out now. It's out of the basket. The secret is out. The Moors, you all have a red crown. The red crown is secondary in Tamari. Y'all want to know, again, y'all want to know why you keep talking about Tamari. We Indians don't know nothing about no Tamari. What you need to learn, I say that with love. You need to learn. Because trust me, the Moors, they what do they bring you? What do they talk? What are the Moors always going? They're always going back, right? They're always going back to show how great they were, right? So Indian, I'm sorry, you have to go back too. You do. You got to know who your enemy is. Where did he begin? That's how they grabbing jurisdiction. They going back to some ancient glory. They keep talking about a fucking Mu and a fucking Pangean shit. We got to go back, Indians. You got to go back further than your enemy. That's why I go to Tamari, because I know that it's legitimate. It is legitimate. And they were not like the Moors. The Moors are an offshoot of our Tamarians because they broke away from what Tamarians believe. You think Tamari had one deity, or they had one Allah, or one Yahweh, or one Jesus? How odd is that to be a monotheistic religion with three different gods? How odd that is to me. But they're lying. That they lie. They will tell you three is one and one is three. It's a trinity. So that's the whole idea of a trinity, is how you trying to make monotheism, you trying to make polytheism look monotheistic. So you created a trinity. So you see, I'm trying to say to indigenous, when you ask yourself, why Heru talking about this stuff, that don't apply to us? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Now, I don't know what indigenous are basing their origins on. I don't know. I just know that they seem to have decided that Tamari is not part of it. And if you throw that away, you throw away your golden key to unlock the bullshit, because that's where the Moors are coming from, indigenous. Do you understand when I say that? The Moors, they're trying to say that Tamari, was secondary to them. That's a lie. It's before them. That's why we have to go there, even if only to learn. I never said you have to worship Isis. I never said you have to worship Osar. I talk about them because I honor them. I'm not saying you have to, but you have to know where they were. You have to know what they represented and how the Moors hijacked that legacy. This is what you just have to know, indigenous. I know you feel like it's all about being an Indian. I know you do. And you are going back to a time, I think what y'all are trying to do is try to go back to a time when there was when we were completely, in other words, before civilization. You talk a prehistoric, but see, the problem with that, indigenous, is that there's no paper. Y'all don't like paper. I know you don't like paperwork, but you can't vouch for that. Tamari will help you do that. You want to go back to before there were kings. I understand that. You want to go back before there was kingdoms. I understand. I understand why you want to do that, but I'm telling you, we can't do that before the world. The world requires a kingdom. You hear me? The world, where was your king? Who are you? Where did you begin? We can't tell them, well, there was a turtle and he had a landmass on his back, and that was the turtle island. To a point, that might work, indigenous. But then you got to come with something that people can say, oh, that. There ain't nobody know about no damn turtle. I say that respectfully. Indians, if we go with a turtle that is floating on the water, you're going into fantasy land. You're going into allegory land. You're going into Atlantis. You're going into Mu. You might see there's the Moors already created their version of Turtle Island. They got Lemuria. They got Mu. We can't. We got to go with something real, indigenous, that doesn't, where the Moors are convicted, where the Moors were not the dominant thing. It can't be in fantasy, indigenous. No matter how, it's not going to work. We can't come to the to the world, the international scene, and talk about a turtle. I'm sorry, indigenous. I'm sorry. And I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you because, hey, I'm not. Who would I be to laugh at my freaking homeland? It's just that I'm trying to keep it real, because that's what, with the Moors, when they come at you with all that history, that's what's giving them the domination. But they're lying to you about that history. See, they got you thinking Egypt was part of them. It was not. Egypt birthed them like it did everybody. Tom Mary birthed everything in the what we know as in the world. Tom Mary gave birth to that, not the Moors, but they will never tell you that. They will never tell you that. Now, they are a close runner-up. Their history begins circa, we're going to do it again, circa 2900, circa 2600 BCE, when the Mayans appear. That's your first break off. I've come to realize that. I don't care what we've been told about the Mayas. All I see is a timeline. And I know they somehow, unfortunately, they share the same timeline as Sumeria. Basically, they're the same, they're in the same, each other's era. They're era colleagues, people of the same era. So if there was any kind of interaction going on, even if there was international interaction, right, it would have to have been with the Maya and the Sumerians. So what I'm saying is, even if Sumeria was on another landmass, if there was any kind of international interaction going on, at that time it would have been with Sumeria and the Mayas. They were in the same time frame. And if they would have had at least have to have known about each other. Okay, at least have to have known about each other. If we're gonna go with this sort of like a conglomerate history, like yeah, now that's when the Moors are gonna say, oh no, they didn't know about no other land in America. You're lying. You're lying again. Just shut up. How about that? Just shut up. If your mouth is moving, that means you're lying. Okay. Yeah. So if in other words, if Sumerians ventured off of their landmass, they would have found Mayans. If Mayans ventured off their landmass, they would have found Sumerians. Those would have been basically what we're being told, the only civilizations at that time. Because apparently we're always going to bury Tameri when the Moors are on the scene. Tameri is going to get very buried, So there is a connection. That's all I know. I don't know how, why. I know why. I don't know how, but I know that there's a connection between Samaria and the Maya. And I'm going to venture and say that they were the first uh, racial anomaly on Earth, the Maya. They were the first. They were not you, indigenous. They were an offshoot of you, but they were not you. They might have had dark skin as well, whatever, but they were some kind of anomaly, I want to say, because the Sumerians were an anomaly. The Sumerians, they would have been your first Mongols who were an Arab Mongol, an East Asian Mongol, you might say. Okay, that's the time frame of this people. That's also when we have, you know, the Set people, the foreigner. Set is a god of the foreigner. Okay, so you know, I'm kind of pontificating, but we're gonna get into the videos I want to show. Yeah, I say all that to say that what we have to go back to a real life history. If we talk about a turtle, there's not enough information to cross reference. You know what I mean? That's strictly, you know, uh, I guess it's like folklore. You know, Tom Mary, it's older than that. Tom Mary's older uh than that. Um, at least with a recorded history. You see what happened, indigenous. Okay, I'm gonna go in a little further. It's an ongoing conversation. Let's face it. So you might ask, then what happened in Tom Mary? Why? What is the story? What happened? And you know, I say it, but I think there's key times to say it again. Uh, there were many priesthoods in Tom Mary and priestesses hoods, right? But one became so powerful that it no longer wanted to share. That would have been your first twinkle in daddy's eye of a Moor. The one who uh they want total control. It's very evident today. That's what the one world order is about. So they've never, ever since they went on that trajectory, they've never deterred from it. Their mission is to rule the world. Why do they have to rule the world? Well, if and why are American Indians their biggest threat? Indians, this is why I'm telling you, got to go back in time to find out why the Moors hate us so damn much. That they gotta lie and I'm you and you and me, but you have to be a Moor first to be really, for us to really be. I'm you and you are me, but you have to be a Moor first for us to really be. You see? So you can't have your own identity in the face of a Moor. Right there, right there. That's in a nutshell. That's why Tom Mary got demonized. And the 18th dynasty is where this show first began to take form. This is why Tom Mary is important. It will tell you where this all began. And whoever out there feel he's just a Hotep brother. No, the fuck I'm not. I ain't no Hotep brother. I don't even use that term really. I'm a Quay brother. Okay. But unfortunately, for those who don't get it, you have to go back to where the first kingdom, where did why did this monarchy become so renegade? You got to go to Tom Mary, y'all. And don't let them lie to you about Samaria. I keep burying Samaria because it's a lie. So what's the real story? Well, the one thing that Samaria does admit, here we go, see, the one thing that Samaria does get right is that whatever emperor she had came after Tom Mary. Indigenous, that's why you need Tom Mary. because it will show you that you were the first kingdom on earth. Oh my God, I don't understand you people. Why you got something against Tamari? That's the best thing that will ever happen to us, because it will show. It will show. It's so documented. We were great document keepers back then. It will show everything that happened, why it happened, where we are today. Why is there this push for a one world government? Because it started in Tamaria around the 18th dynasty, when the Amen priesthood decided that they wanted to be the only priesthood. So now their kings are going to be the only kings. You see? That's why Tamari, I stand by Tamari. That showed me everything I need to know. I couldn't get this from a legend about a turtle. That a turtle ain't going to tell me why people hate me. The turtle ain't going to do that. That's why it's not good enough. Now, if we need a little fairy tale, fine. We could use that. But in terms of explaining the world dynamic that we in, the turtle ain't going to do it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's not my fault. It is not my fault that ain't going to do the explaining, okay? It's not my fault. So get mad if you need to, but not at me. Don't get mad at the message. So that, again, you have the only thing that Sumeria is good for, and they only good for this because they can't lie about it, but they tried to. I believe they did try to, because I think their king's list is fairy tale, but their actual empire didn't begin till it's like the 2900 BC or 2600 BC or 2500 BC era. That's when Sumeria becomes a kingdom. See, hear me. If you don't hear anything I said before, indigenous, hear me now. Sumeria can cackle and yapple, dapple all about their prehistory, right? They can lie about the wheel and all, whatever they're writing, but they only get put on the map when their kingdom appears. That's when I'm trying to tell you, indigenous, that unfortunately that applies to us as well. We can talk about turtles, we can talk about corn deities or whatever, but the only time you're going to get on the map is when you deal with your kingdom, okay? See, when you go on a world stage, the only thing they're going to recognize, who's your king? Who is your people? How did they, that is really it. So I'm trying to say, even with Sumeria, they can talk about their time before their kings all they want. That don't matter. It doesn't count on the international stage, because no one met you until you went international. So we don't know what you could lie about your history to make yourself look good, but we only know you once you became a super power. And I'm telling you, Tamarians, as much as Indians, as much as you don't want to hear nothing about Tamari, that is the only way you're going to get put on the world stage map. And right now, we do have to interact with the world, unfortunately, because of these Moors. We have to. So they need to know, who are you? And they're not going to really know about our Turtle Island, okay? But when we talk about pharaohs that were on this landmass, what they call pharaoh, I think they just renamed everything. They would have been chiefs, perhaps, but on the world stage, they became known as pharaohs, right? So who are you, Indians? Who's your king, your great king? How do we know you? That would have been through pharaonic, what we know as pharaonic Tamari. That's when you become international. So that you have to use that, because the world will not recognize us any other way. And maybe the Indians feel like, I don't want to be recognized by the world. Well, how else are we going to get this shit going? If it's a little secret, what good is that going to do? You know, we got to show the world, because then we will have a case. We need a court, right? If to have a case, right? Somebody got to witness this shit for it to get legit, you know, we can't keep this little secret. So that's why we have to go international. I'm sorry, I didn't want to indigenous. If we didn't have to, we wouldn't have to. But again, because of the Moors, we do. This is the world they created. They created a world of kings, okay? Outside of America. I'm gonna say the ones outside of America. That's the one they created. Now our thrones were ours, but once our throne went outside of America, now we got to deal with all these other kings and tell them who we are. That's another thing, Indians. We're dealing with monarchies around the world. So they want to be able to say that you ain't nothing but a slave class. And we need to turn around and say, no, baby, you can't, your throne came from my loins, okay? You're something that I pooped out, okay? You are a product of me. But see, everybody, how they come at us Indians, they trying to say that we were just nothing until they civilized. That's a bold-faced lie. All I am saying is this is why you have to have primary, even if you don't want her. I'm sorry, because these monarchies they came from that monarchy. That's why. Another, I'm just shooting this out for you. If I had a big blackboard, it'd be bigger than life. What I'm saying to you, really, really, y'all want to keep it local, right? Yeah, tribal, right? I'm sorry, we have to go international. I'm sorry. Again, if the Moors didn't do their shit, we wouldn't have to. But unfortunately, we got to tell we have to tell these other so-called monarchies where they got that throne from. That's what's going to give us jurisdiction. Indians, listen. We are dealing with a world of monarchs concentrated apparently in Britain. So when we come into interface with them, we have to rise up to our royal level, right? Because that's the only way. In other words, who are you? Who are you to come to me? I am royalty. That's what they're going to say to us. You're just a little Indian. No, sweetie, you got that all wrong. The throne you sitting on, the crown you wearing, baby, that originated on my landmass. I am not your subject. You are a product of me. And we can say that once we know our history, Indians. You can't say that unless you know it. Why is everyone talking about Tom Mary? I'm tired of that. I ain't listening to that. Oh, you just don't know. You just don't know. You just don't know. And I'm saying that not with any arrogance. I'm trying to raise you up. I'm trying to upgrade you, Indigenous, if you really hear what I'm saying. I'm upgrading you to your royalty. That's what I'm here to do, okay? You ask, what are you? Why are you here? Who are you? You sound funny to me. I don't know. Who are you? You just listen, okay? Just listen. I'm here to upgrade you. Yes. That's why. Yeah, I'm going to say that. I'm going to say that. And I stand by it. If someone else is doing it, good for you. But I'm doing it as well. I am here to upgrade you. And if they're doing it, but unfortunately, they have to do it this way. I'm sorry. When you go to claim your authority over anything on this earth, you're going to have to show them why, Indigenous. It's just a simple fact of life. So you can't go to them. You can't go to the monarchy and say, well, once upon a time, what makes me my dominion over you is that there was this big turtle and he was swimming. And then no, they're not hearing that. Even if you were first, what the monarchy is going to say you were savages. You see what I'm saying to you, Indigenous? Do you hear what I'm saying? So you can't just be a savage and be first. You got to have what? A throne, baby. You got to wear a crown, baby. Isn't that what you're trying to get in heaven? Well, I'm telling you, you don't have to wait that long. You don't have to wait till you in heaven to get your crown. if you take it now. And as a matter of fact, I don't think you will get it if you don't take it now. It's actually the reverse. If you take your crown now, you will have it in any other life. It's the only one we know, right? Where else you going to do that? You better pick up your crown, indigenous. And I'm telling you, it's much more than a bunch of feathers. You better pick up your crown, indigenous. If you think you're going to begin to stand in this world against this shit that the Moors made to come against you, you think you could just come at them with bows and arrows and feathers on your head? Oh, no, baby, no. You got to go back to Tamari. And I know you hate when I say that. You hate it. I feel it. I know it. I know I'm just discarded because I talk too much about and look at his name. He ain't indigenous. Look at his name. His name Heru. He's the Hotep brother. I'm the best Hotep brother you will ever meet. If I am that, I'm the best one you will ever hear. What I'm trying to break down to you. Yeah, there's some arrogance, but you know what? I'm dealing with I'm dealing a whole sea of arrogant indigenous, whether they think they Moors or whatever, but more so with the damn Moors. But yeah, okay, so okay, it's a given that we're going to be arrogant to some degree. Okay, whatever. That's just part of the package, right? So yeah, like we don't have to we're going to stay focused on that foolishness. But the message, indigenous, pick up your ancient crown, which is the white crown. You're not going to stand before any monarchy on this earth talking about some damn turtle. You better show them where they came from. You got to know where they came from. And I'm telling you, it was Tom Mary. They're going to lie to you and say, put you this way. If a crown began when Narmer united to, if that's where our official crown began, so be it. Okay. That was circa 3150 BC, baby. Before that, there ain't no crown. And if they were in America. 3150 BC is when Narmer officially united the two kingdoms of Tamari. So that is where the crown began, is what I'm telling you. Sumeria's crown, and I just realized with all the lies Sumeria tells, the one truth that they can't see. This is why we have to grab our real life history. Sumeria could lie all day, all night about how great they were, but their kingdom only begins circa 2900. And I think the king's list, they talk about a fairy tale kingdom, but that's not documented. That's in their fairy tales. Like that's with our turtle. That's in the everybody has a fairy tale version. But again, no one knows you until you have a king, or you're not really recognized you have a king. Why do we have to take our kingdom, Indians? Because that's going to show that even the word king, the thought of royalty, it wasn't on earth until we brought it, Tamarians or Indians. That's why we're the first. That's why we're the least in Indians. Anywhere you go on this planet, no one is being more disenfranchised than you, right? The reason for that, again, is because your bloodline is where it all began. So the Moors figured, okay, so we are not the rightful king. We want to be a king, but as long as them Negroes are here, we got something to think about. So we got to either keep them brainwashed and poor and stupid, or they're going to remember some shit. And, we can't have that. So indigenous, when you say to yourself, even in Africa, they're not denationalized. In Africa, as poor and pitiful as the Moors try to make them look, they have not been denationalized. Why? Because there's nothing in their nationhood that is a threat to the Moors. You could write that down in a notepad and go, as they say, run and tell it. The reason why Africans are not denationalized, indigenous, is because there's nothing about their nations that the Moors are threatened by. The reason why you're denationalized, indigenous, because your bloodline. Again, we talk all about blood, don't we, indigenous? What makes your blood so fucking special that you have to be denationalized and turned into inferior African blood? Ask yourself that, indigenous. What makes your blood so special that you got to be denationalized from it? It's because of Tom Mary. I'm telling you right now, the Moors don't, you know why? They don't give a shit about fantasy, baby, okay? They only when they need it to lie to you. That's the only time. But truth be told, what they're concerned about is what you were in real life. That's what they're concerned about. That's why they made you a fiction to take you out of real life. What is your real life? I'm telling you, Indians, it's Tom Mary is your real life. That is your real life. That is your real life bloodline. And pictures you see of Egyptians, them was you. Them was you, indigenous. That was you. That was you. That's why they're trying to say they were white. They're trying to say that the paint job wasn't right, and they turned brown, but they was really white. That's the Moors doing that to you, indigenous. That's the Moors doing that to you. That's the black Moors doing that to you, indigenous. They trying to erase you. Why are they trying to erase you? Because you precede them. They were that one priesthood that turned on Tamari. That's who they are, indigenous. And nothing you say will ever have any effect on the Moors unless you go back to your kingdom, unless you go back to real life kings. Tamari, after Akhenaten showed up, that's all they knew was Akhenaten. King Tut, Akhenaten. Why? Because that was the dynasty. Now you had 17 dynasties before that, but that was the dynasty that went far yonder to desecrate all our deities with a one God deity system. That was the 18th dynasty. That everybody knows this, indigenous. That's why it's so important for you to grab it. Everybody knows that Akhenaten was the first monotheist. And you haven't been so dominated by monotheism. Indigenous, you don't know why that's important. You don't know why Akhenaten is so important in your life. You think that's just some old shit that we don't need to be worried about. That's the Negro the reason why Christianity was beat into your asses. I'm sorry if that's disrespectful. That is why Christianity, Hebrew Israelitism, and Islam is beat into your ass. Because once they create that monotheism, now they got to get the leftover Tamarians. They got to get them to eat that shit. You got to eat this dinner, and you are going to be force fed this monotheistic diet. They are forcing you to take on these religions, indigenous. Even today, in your neighborhood, before you have a grocery store, you'll have a freaking church. The colonization is 24/7 all day, every day. Okay? You'll know what I'm talking about, but you resist me because of Tom Mary. That's your biggest mistake. It is your biggest mistake. You better grab Tom Mary and run for your life, because that's what they're coming for. Your life. I'm talking jabba dabba do, y'all. Jabba dabba do. The jabs was to come for your life, dead or alive. Because if you survive it, the idea was you're still going to be owned because of that technology, nanotechnology. Yes, mRNA. Look it up. Look up what mRNA technology is. Look it up. That's what you got. If you got it, that's what you got. But they think that's going to be a means to own you. They got to erase you in some way, shape, or form. Whether they can pull jurisdiction over you or just put you 6 feet under. That's all that's here for you, indigenous, in this world, until you take up your crown. Because that's all we are against is a monarchy. That's why we have to supersede the monarchy. And we can. They are babies to us if we take our crown. If not, they will be a force to battle with as long as they're on the face of the earth, baby. And the Moors are going to do everything to make sure that there's a third party involved to cover their ass. So whether it be a white person, a yellow person, a beige person, whatever, the Moor is working overtime in their science labs trying to create an alternate person to you, American Indian. Them labs never stop operating to genetically modify people and whatever. Now I guess they're trying to go robot with it. They realize, okay, maybe humans they start catering to these Negroes, start falling in love with them and stuff. We need some robots up in this place. They ain't gonna fall in love with these damn Indians that we can't stand. The only reason why they want to be you indigenous, you ask yourself, More, what have you got to do with me? I'm just a lowly, quote unquote, black person in America. Why am I so important to you? You rock with slaves in all other parts of the world. Every place outside of America is slavery fodder for the Moors. Why am I so important to you, Moors? Indigenous is because of the crown that you own. It's the crown that you own, indigenous, that goes back to Tamari. You don't like to hear it, but I'm going to keep on telling you. That's my mission, part of my mission. Okay? Y'all got missions? I got one too. That's one of them. You're going to own Tamari. You're going to own it. You're going to own it. Because I'm telling you, that's the only way out. You got to show where the kingdom came from, Tamarians. You think you're going to fight them with, meager tools. I mean, even with the government, we won't be able to fight them really, because a monarchy doesn't really, what do they care about a government, right? A monarchy is, it's, especially if they created it, the form of government that you have. Okay? If they have, I should say recreated it, where Congress has all like plenary authority over you, that's you got to show them why that could not possibly be. Why? Because the crown originated in America. Tamari is America. Tamari is America. Tamari is America. It's not Amaru. Again, Amaru comes circa 2900. That's when the Mayas had what was it? Kukulkan Khan? Khan. That's Mongol. Kukulkan Khan. Khan is Mongol. So that's not original, indigenous. Any Khan is not original. That's the Mughal Empire. Khan refers to the Mughal Empire. And you indigenous have a problem with Tamari. You don't understand that that's how far back you got to go to get your footing, because they done infiltrated you with Mongols, gave you a Kukulkan, Kukulkan, and Khan. You don't see the Khan. So when they come at you with Amaru Khan, throw that shit in the garbage, baby boy or baby girl. Throw it in the garbage. I'm telling you right now, there's something before that. It's called Tamari. Tamari predates Sumeria deities. And if the deity or the nation, like Maya, appeared circa 20 hundreds BC, that they've been infiltrated by the Mongols. They've been infiltrated by the Mongols. The very first Mongols. That would have been the more like, well, according to Re-Educated TV, the first Mongols were black, quote unquote black, okay? Then they became like East Asian, okay? So yeah, indigenous, if you own Tamari, the fight will become much easier. on the world stage. We can't go to the world and say that we're not ancient Tamari, because someone else will grab that, and that by that they will be able to dominate you. If you don't take it, somebody else will, and the Moors are standing right there waiting for that ruby slipper to drop, whatever you want to call it. The Moors are waiting for you to completely divorce yourself of anything ancient and important. You can be a turtle if you like. That don't bother them. They know the turtle don't have a crown, okay? And they know that those kings are not registered kings around the world. Any kings that we had is not, they're not those ones that say were what do you call it? Prehistorical, we should say. The prehistory kings, they don't have the same, they would have been too tribal to have the, the recognition. But once you go large scale, and the first one to do that, according to the Tamarian history, was Narmer, King Narmer. Now, I'm going to give you my thought about what happened with King Narmer. This is my personal, what I know, and trying to make it make sense. And I don't get too hasty with me, Indians, because then you're gonna say that's why we don't want to be Tamarians. But what I'm thinking, what happened with Narmer, I think that he took the child of the real king once he united Upper and Lower Tamari. I think the reason why he was able to do that is because he had the full-blood heir. In other words, just like they did with Pocahontas, once you have the full-blood heir, now you can use that heir to run your show. So what do I mean? You indigenous, I think what you'll appreciate about this is you can sort of discredit Narmer to a degree, because I know y'all don't like thinking about ancient Tamari, Egypt, America. You don't want to go that far back. He said, no, we find right here in the middle. That's not going to be good enough in indigenous. We're going to have to go back before our colonizer. This is why, again, make note of that. Why do we have to go back to the America? Because we have to go back before any infiltration, not just the British one. There was the Mongol one that no one talks about, because they don't want us to think that the Mongols are invaders or foreign entity. So we don't talk about the Mongols, I realize, and that's why I really didn't know about the Mongols. But they tried to say that they were the first people here. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. The race itself is a new race. So they cannot be the first people of America and not look like us. Again, why are we the big target? Why are we the ones denationalized? How come ain't no other Mongols denationalized? How come the other Mongols are actually called Indians? But that's because we the first ones, indigenous, and that means we were here before the Mongols. Do the math. I mean, it's just really that simple. Those are the ones that they're trying to, because they were the first to infiltrate. That's why they feel like they're the most legitimate Indians. These Mongol Indians that they keep parading in front of the world. But they're not the first. And they keep talking about them, but they won't say who was first. That was us, Tamarians or indigenous. That we were Tamarians back then. I'm sorry. I know you don't like that. I'm sorry. The first organized civilization was Tamari. The first really organized, that's another thing. It's not so much that we have to be world renowned. What it is that was the first civilization, point blank, period. If you want to go back to where high culture was, indigenous, that was Tamari. All you got to do is own it. Now, they lied about Tamari a lot. There's been a lot of lies. Namely, the one trying to say that they weren't us. or that they were our cousins. No, those are our direct ancestors. The Egyptians, I knew that there was a connection. I had no idea that it was basically the direct bloodline. That I didn't know, and that's why I'm really speaking like I am. So why do all the powers of the world want Mongolians to be seen as the first Indian? Because they don't want Tamarians to be. You see, that's how we know why we are the Tamarians, indigenous, because they don't even want to give first dibs to the Tamarians. They're trying to say it was Mongolian. Yeah, circa the 2000s BC, the 2000s in BC era, it would have been Mongols. Before that, it would have been us. And I'm going to keep saying indigenous. That's why we have to go back to Tamari time, because that's before the Mongol time. The Mongol time, again, I know I'm saying it and over. It's only because I really want to make that connection. The Mongol time, they begin circa like 2900 BC. That's the most generous we're going to give them, is 29. And that's very close, cutting it very close. But not close enough, because again, we begin 3150 is when our high civilization was really at it. No, wait a minute, I can't say that because it was two kingdoms that was united. Okay. I'm going to have to go with the 3400 BC because that's apparently when there were two kingdoms in Tamari. Okay. 3400 BCE. So that's still way before 2900, where we have the Maya appear. Now they want everything to be centered around the Maya. I'm telling you, indigenous, our history goes way before the Maya. Tamari. That's Tamari. Tamari is the oldest civilization. Maybe that's what I wasn't saying. Forget about kingdom. Okay, because I know y'all have a problem with kingdoms, right? I mean, I can understand. I understand why. Because look what it's become. Right. So yeah, we're not crazy about kingdoms, right? Yet we are the first. But how about civilization? Can you stomach that a little more? I think that's fair. That is what is at stake here. Not only was it a kingdom, but it was the first organized high civilization. That was Tamari, y'all. It wasn't nothing in Africa. Nothing in Africa goes back that far. Okay? Nothing. That's what I thank Horace Butler for. In his convoluted way, he let us know. That's the gift of Horace Butler. If it's about taking the positive and throwing out the bones, that's what Horace Butler gave us, even as he is sworn to his oaths. Because I for some reason I think Horace Butler is a Boule or secret society member. He knows our history, but his mission was to give a little more of our history for those of us who are, the awakening is real, and that forces the Moors to have to give up a little more, but they still gonna lie. Now they're in a time when their arm is being twisted by nature itself. They have to give up even more. So their arm is being twisted by Mother Nature, whatever you want to call her, and by divine providence. That when I said divine providence was really, it's the ancestors. So the ancestors are letting the Moors know, you better give up more. You better give up more truth. And they do it, but the more, see, it's sort of like how Congress works. They will pass something and you won't know shit about it, right? And you won't ever get the benefit of it, but they put it out there. You didn't find it, so that's your problem. We did what we were supposed to do, put it out there. And if you didn't pick it up, we get to kick your ass some more. That's what the Moors do. They put it out, but they give it a spin. So what Horace Butler had to fork his tongue to tell us about Tamari. He had to fork his own tongue because of his oath. Um, in Samaria, there was a story, and it kind of I say Samaria because that's where your lies are really well. That's when the truth is becoming really uh twisted up and stuff. But they tell a story about uh what was it? Just to show you how they can tell you the truth, but it has to be they have to lie. They have to tell you the truth, but they are allowed to give it a somehow a spin. So when somebody tells you the truth and they're like a liar, that means we have to go in and use our common sense because they're going to tell us the truth, but they're going to put it like it's going to be wrapped in lies, lie paper. It's like a gift, and the package is lies, but the gift is inside the lie. So I just want to show you how they tell this, how they are able, how they do this from even in their own stories. They tell us how they do it, like how they like. There's a story where what was it? Somebody was vowed not to tell a secret. Um, they couldn't tell the secret, right? So somebody will, well, you'll hear it, you'll know it, but you might, I'm not recalling which story it was, but they told a secret they weren't supposed to. Now, when you tell a secret, as you know, in the secret society, that's your life, right? But if you find a way to do it without actually doing it, then you might be spared somehow, you know? So here's the story. All I know was the story says this man vowed before the gods of somebody that he wouldn't tell the secret to who was it? Was it Gilgamesh? I forget who the character was. A Sumerian story. So what he did was he stood behind a wall and told the secret. But because it wasn't him, it like the story twisted it to say it was the wall that told the secret, not me, the man. It was a wall. The voice from a wall was telling the secret. So I kept my promise. I did not tell the secret. But a wall told the character the secret. So you see the way they can tell you something, but you have to use your common sense because they're still going to be given it. And that's what Horace Butler did. I'm saying this to say that this is exactly what Horace Butler did. Horace Butler tells us that the word America was removed from the Wolsey-Muller map. And then you have to use your common senses and say, well, wait a minute. America is still on the Wolsey-Muller map. He said in 1507 it was removed. You have to use your common sense, and you'll realize now in his interview, and then we listened to that interview, he said Tameri was removed. In the book, he said America was removed from the Wolsey-Muller map. But in his interview, Horace Butler said, and he didn't even say it in the same sentence. He broke it up. In other words, he said it, but you had to catch it and make the connection yourself. He said, the $10 million Wolsey-Muller map, Wolsey-Muller had to remove the word Tameri. And the next thing you saw, it was gone. He said it was gone. What he didn't say was that Tameri was taken off and it was replaced with America. And so I realized we just saw the way a Boule member works in Horace Butler. He's forking his own tongue to tell us the truth. He's standing behind the wall and hoping we catch what he just said. Why is he doing that? Like you're going to say, well, why is he doing that at all? Again, by divine providence, they have to tell the truth. Okay? But they're allowed to do some kind of other thing where it makes it convoluted and you have to use your brain. So the ancestors are doing, they have two jobs to do. One job is they're making the liars tell the truth. Uh, the liar still doesn't know quite how to do that. And so they tell it, but they convolute it and they give it a narrative. See, when someone's telling you a story, it's like, watch out when they are giving you all of the narrative. You know, like they telling you how to receive it. Like, I'm telling you this, but this is how it goes. This is where it goes. No, it goes where I need it to go. So the ancestors have a double duty. They have to be in our heads to interpret the truth that they're making the Moors tell. So then they gotta hope, you know, that some of us are receptive enough to reinterpret and not just take it at face value. To go in and do the common sense thing and say, well, how would that make sense? What he just said doesn't make sense. And with in the case of Horace Butler, he outright lied on his book. He lied on his own book because the book says that the word America was removed from the Wolsey Muller map. And now at that time, Brazil was called America or Tamari. I'm sorry, there I go confusing it. At that time, Brazil was Tamari on the Wolsey Muller map. But in in Horace Butler's book, he says, and this is written in his book, so the written word is often where the lies are going to show. We learned this from the whole Horace Butler episode, where he goes on a national radio show, or whether it was local or national, whatever. It was a radio show. He's being interviewed. He lied on his book because his book said the $10 million Wolsey Muller map had America removed. But on the interview, the radio interview, he says, Tamari was removed from the Wolsey Muller map. He said they took Ta and put it on the end of Mary and made it Merita, and then just formulated into America. That's what he spells it out in the interview. But the book doesn't say no such thing. He's talking around it, but if for some reason in that book, when it came to talking about the Wolsey Muller map, because that's something that we can look up, that's the somebody lied. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't him. I don't know. But I would think that it's his book. I'm sure he looked at it. He could have went back and told them, excuse me, that's a misprint. He don't have a second edition where he corrected it. So I have to believe that he knows what his book says. Okay? America was Tamari, y'all. And the only America that they knew back then was the one in Brazil. That's how old our history goes back. There was no North America that had, I believe, that was inhabited, I want to say. You know, it was our landmass, but I do believe that there was some sort of ice age. That I do believe. And so we began in Brazil. If we go with what Horace Butler's saying, and I do believe that he's throwing out a truth shrouded in, in somewhat of a lie. But the truth is, that's when Columbus said he was coming to recapture Jerusalem, he didn't go to North America, y'all. He went to Brazil. That's what's not being said. I'm not even sure they're showing that he went. But if you're going to recapture Jerusalem in the Americas, again, indigenous, that's why we have to own Tamari, because we called it Jerusalem, Heru, by my namesake, Heru. I take his name because he is the key. Heru is the key to America. He is the heir, just like we are. Heru is the heir of the king. and he wore both crowns. Hello. Heru wore the white and the red crown. What does that mean, indigenous? You have authority over the Moors. You want to know why I keep going back to Tamari? Why you keep doing that? I don't like that. Stop it. Stop talking about Tamari. You talk about turtles. Talk about all the turtles that was here when the Spanish came in. There were so many turtles here. It's not old enough, indigenous. I got to go back to, I'm sorry, I got to go back and find our crown. That's what my duty is. I know you don't like to talk about crowns, except if they look like feathers. But we had another crown. It was called the white crown. And then the Moors created white people in an attempt to put our crown on their creation's head. You see? And even call him white. When we were known as white, as a status, that's why that word on your screen, Heru. Heru is a version of Heru. The Moors did all their little word spells to not have us know that Tamari was in America. But the mission that Columbus was on was to recapture what? Jerusalem. So that means he had to come to Brazil. I just realized that now, because Machu Picchu, that is the holy city of that era. That is the holy city where our civilization sprout up, and that was the holy city. We called it Jerusalem. Now we called it Heru. I'm sorry, we didn't put no Salam. Salam is a creation, again, of the Mongol Empire. That would be their word. Khan, Salem, that's when they're coming to rename shit. So I'm not going to go with the Salem. I'm just using that because to show that when Columbus said he was coming to recapture Jerusalem, it was really Jerusalem that he was talking about, but we just called it Heru. You know, you got to fine tune the stuff, and we wouldn't have called it Jerusalem because Salam wasn't in our nomenclature. That's more like the Moorish words. You know, basically it's their, that I believe that's their wording. Their, Salam alaikum and all of that, that's their language or whatever, that's the one that they so we don't want their words. We have to get rid of most of the words that connect us to the Mongol Empire. Any Khan, a lot of our people are fooled by that Khan. They think it was great, but it wasn't. It was the greatness of our enemy taking over and calling us Khan. They were the Khan artists, not us. They were the Khan. Again, where is this all stemming from? It's when one priesthood decides that there should be no other priesthoods but them. And that way they get all the tribute, all the money, all the glory, all the power, and then they create a Roman Catholic Church. And then from that church, they create all the other monotheistic religions. And they come back and dominate us with those religions. And we find that even when we convert to those religions, we're still hated on. So you see it played out like a bad movie. You see it. After I convert to your religion, that was supposed to make me a man among men, right? Or a woman among women, or whatever. But it didn't do anything for us. Why? Because of our bloodline. Because of our bloodline. They know our bloodline goes. Why is our bloodline a threat? Tamarians, Indians. I'm starting to call you all Tamarians just naturally now. Good. That's what I want. That's what I want. That is your most ancient name of America, not turtle. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's, so that is why the bloodline, because why is our blood a threat? Because it predates their bloodline. That's why. That's why they want to get rid of you, Indians. That's why they want to denationalize you. Africans never got denationalized. They are not a threat. They are a creation of the Moors. Africans are a creation of the Moors. They brought them Africans whatever they got from the Moors. That yes, well, Hatshepsut of the 18th dynasty. She goes when we kick their ass out. They end up in Africa. They don't want to admit to being kicked out. We kick that ass out. That whole dynasty got kicked out, and the Amen priesthood, evidently, because that's who was working with Akhenaten. Okay, their asses got kicked out. Then Hatshepsut has to go look for somebody to take over, some land to rob that she couldn't do it in America because we wasn't having it. So Hatshepsut goes down to makes up a place called Punt, which is now Somalia, and she goes over there and takes all their wealth. But the way they tell the story, the people love them, and the Puntians and the Somalians, the ancient Somalians, love them because we shared such interest. You was robbing them people, if anything. They had no choice. So, but then that was all they culture because that's what we brought to them again. That's why you want your crown. It shows you where civilization came from. We brought Africa civilization, the lives. So the 18th dynasty goes over there and they create Punt. And as we saw, Punt is the oldest thing. Okay, again, Punt is in that time frame of the Maya. It's in the time frame of the Sumerians. If I remember correctly, Punt was 2500 BCE on that timeline we saw. So that's how you connect your dots with the timeline. What people shared that same century? Who were the top dogs of that era? It would have been those first Mongols, the first Sumerians, and the first Puntians. They all share the same. What does that mean? That means once the 18th dynasty's ass got kicked out, that's when all this other stuff starts popping. Okay, that's when all this stuff starts. Now, the 18th dynasty, they got kicked out. Wait a minute. Did I go too far? I went too far. I'm sorry. But that's okay. Why did I get mixed up? Because of the lie about Punt's time frame. Now, if Hatshepsut is dealing with Punt, that was more like the 1500 BC era, I believe. Because the 18th dynasty got kicked out circa 1500, I believe, BC. Ooh, I'm sorry if I got that wrong, y'all. But I'm trying to say that's because they're lying about. I think they're dating Punt back to the 20. See, that's that timeline we saw. Remember, we saw that Punt was 2900 BC, and I kept thinking, wow, I didn't realize they were so far, you know. But that's the date that the 18th dynasty is given them. You see what I'm saying? That's why I got confused. So no, Punt does not go back to Sumeria. They're very young. Sorry, I got that wrong. See, but that was a lie. I just stumbled on a lie because the timeline that we saw for Punt according to Punt is a name that the Bible uses, number one. So right there, it's like, okay, we're dealing with King James stuff, right? Pretty much. So I'm sorry. That's why I got confused. Punt does not go. It's just said to go back that far. The only two that go back that far in real life, okay, that's the difference. Punt is fake. That's what I said, right? I should have kept that narrative. In the land of fairy tales that Hatshepsut made up, because the 18th dynasty were known liars, okay? I'm realizing they were liars. They lied about the Hyksos and said that the Hyksos was these horrible invaders. No, you were the invader, 18th dynasty. You're just creating a people that you can blame your shit on. And those were two people that got called into from out of fantasy world as if they were real. That would have been the Hyksos, the lie about the Hyksos. Now the Hyksos were real people, but they weren't these like hostile takeover people. They were settlers. So I believe that's what the Maya were. They were, yeah. So anyway, again, the 18th dynasty is lying about the Hyksos, and they're lying about punt. But I'd say from circa 1500s BC, that is when, whatever they got kicked out, I forget the exact date of the kicking out of the 18th dynasty, but when they did, they ended up in Africa, and they immediately look for some place to exploit. I think they completely created. I don't think there were people in Africa before. I know that sounds crazy. I know that sounds crazy. I don't think there were people in Africa before the 18th dynasty got kicked out. And the reason why I say that is because when they talk about punt doesn't have any culture of their own. Even when you look up Somalia today, they're revering Hatshepsut. Now, she was real. See, again, indigenous, you want to know why I keep talking about Tameri? They were real life people. I cannot vouch for the characters mentioned in Sumeria as much as we can vouch for Tamarian. But once they get kicked out, they become the African. Okay. When you go to take first place indigenous, you really got to own all of first place. First place means we were the first people. And that means the world got peopled after we came on the scene. But it was the Moors doing it. And they were turning them against us. So we got to own the big banana here. Indigenous. It's a big, are we big enough? I ask you, are you big enough to own such a huge history? Are you willing to upgrade yourself from 32 gigabytes to like 128 gigs? Are you willing to upgrade yourself so you can own your history? Are you willing to do that? Because I know right now we know that we are something big. We just don't know how big. And I'm here to tell you how big and how old. If you're willing to do it. Some of us will still not do it. I don't want to have nothing to do. Oh, your name is Heru. You a Hotep brother. You can't judge a book by the cover all the time. You can't do it. Do you know about Heru? First of all, let's get that clear. Because if you don't even know why my name is Heru or the story, then how are you going to condemn it? You know, let me tell you who he is, because I know. Okay, that's all. I'm going to our first. If you're an Indian, why are you using Heru? Why are you not Gordon Lightfoot? I like a lot of his music. I really did. What was one of Gordon Lightfoot's songs? That's a big one. If you could read my mind, love, what a tale my thoughts could tell. Just like an old time movie about a ghost from a wishing well. That was Gordon Lightfoot, the whole Caucasian, but that music was good. Why if you're an Indian, why don't you have like an Indian name? That is an Indian name, Heru. If you own your history. Okay. But he was royalty. Okay. He was okay. I'll explain it again. I'm not trying to be arrogant. I really am not. If I am, I'm arrogant because our history is so it would make us a little arrogant. But no, we don't want to come off as arrogant. I don't want to come off as vain, arrogant. I don't. That's the world of the Moors. They got something to prove, right? So they wear their stuff like new money, right? But we're not supposed to, because just because we were the first civilization, it doesn't mean that we walk around shitting on people. In fact, the story of Heru's father, Osar, is that he loved and wanted people to be educated. He didn't, in other words, that in that legend, he was a good king. but his brother Set was the one who was all about, I want to be the king, not Osar. I don't want Osar, the real king, to be the king. I want to be the king. That's Set, the brother. And that's who the Moors are. They want to rule everything to the detriment of Indians. Like, that's why Osar represents the Indian, because he is murdered so that the false king, which would be the god of the Moors, can start to have like this domination just for domination's sake, because he's so okay. Why does he have to dominate? Again, we just keep going over to connect it again. The reason why Set and people that follow Set require world domination is because they have to keep a lock on the first people. That would be the American Indians. The reason why Set forces like the Moors, whether they know it or not, I'm telling you, Moors, who your deity is, right? I'm telling you who he is. Y'all gave us Quetzalcoatl, right? He's a storm war deity. He's a storm, a rain cloud deity. Y'all gave us Kukulkan, Khan, right? The Moors, right? Yeah, the Mongols through the Moors. Then we get Quetzalcoatl, another dragon deity. Or you giving us dragons, Moors, and these dragons are storm, thunder, war deity. That's what you gave us, Moors. That's what you gave the Mongols before you organized into the Catholic Church. You were spitting out dragons to all the Mongols. They were all worshiping dragons. And then you gave the Caucasian a dragon, but he is the dragon slayer. So once you get your Caucasian child popping, now he's out to kill all the Mongols, because he's going to be the one that's going to be, the reason why the Caucasian, we saw oh gosh, what did I just do? Oh, I hit something by mistake. Am I still recording? Yeah, I'm still recording. I'm sorry, I hit something by mistake and my screen popped away. Once the Moors were able to genetically manipulate themselves into a Caucasian race, the Caucasians now are slaying the Mongolian dragons because they're bringing Christianity and the other monotheistic religions. So the Moors had to reinvent everything to hide themselves. The reason why they invent, because they're hiding as they reinvent. So now you're gonna think the Mongols don't have nothing to do with the Moors. Oh yes, they have everything to do with the Moors. Everything. They came from the Moors. That was the first genetic modification. That's what I want. From now on, we're gonna call it genetic modification, okay? Because I'm not trying to disrespect the other people of the world. These people mean well. These outside of a Moor, these people are innocent as the driven snow, or whatever you want to call it, because they are just brought here and given a narrative by the Moors. Okay? That's why my name is Heru. Heru would have done exactly this with the Moors. Why? Because Heru fought Set, the god of the Moors. He fought Set and prevailed. That is what Heru did. That's why my name is Heru, and that's why I talk like I do. That's the energy of Heru is all in this. Thank you, ancestor. Thank you. Thank you, Heru. I never understood Heru until the awakening. I was trying to rock with his father, Asar. I was trying to rock with Tahuti, his uncle, or what's Tahuti? Tahuti's like an uncle. I got to figure out who Tahuti is. Interesting because he is not one of the children of Ra. We got to find out the relation, but Tahuti is the god of wisdom. I do think he was hijacked by the Moors. The only deity that was not hijacked by the Moors is Heru, because his storyline disappears. Now, the other deities, they keep that. Tahuti pretty much kept his storyline as a god of wisdom. He became Hermes. He became of the Greeks. He became Mercury of the Romans. He started in Timeri. See, Timerians don't want, they want to know, Indians want to know why he keep talking about Timeri. Oh my God, if you don't own Timeri, I'm going, oh, I don't know what y'all gonna do. Because all the other cultures are based on you. It wasn't you as an Indian. It was you when you were in your highest uh uh refined form. You were Tameri. You brought all this. The crown, civilization, Hermes, Mercury of the Romans. They modeling after themselves after your deities, Tamarian Indians. Do you know why you're hated by everybody in the Moorish world who who was aware of what the Moors are doing? Only those who are aware, truly hate us. The other people, they don't know why American Indians are so discarded in America. They don't really understand it. I think it becomes a cognitive dissonance. They don't even try because it doesn't make any sense. I think people are looking at, well, if they were slaves, then that was back then. Right now, they seem like they what did they do that they so hated? Why did they shoot them? Why? Why do the justice system seem to allow them to get shot and like it doesn't, their lives don't matter, because of our bloodline. And it's not the Moorish bloodline, else we'd be on top, right? When you with the Moors, you living a good life, right? But they want to make us think, no, we suffering too. You're a fucking liar. You're a fucking liar. If you are, it's only for visual effect. Y'all ain't suffering, right? You're lying. Y'all the one that's sitting in Congress right now, truth be told. Our Indians who decided to get in bed with the Moors, maybe they thought they didn't have a choice. Maybe they thought our history was so lost that they would never come back. Surprise! Yeah, they just sit in those seats, and Congress only had 19 or 18 enumerated powers. They done multiplied that shit to Anna said over 300. That was not constitutional. They're keeping those seats warm every fucking day when the original guidelines said they to meet at least once a year. That's all we needed of you. The only thing we asked them to do, Indians, is to meet at least one. We didn't want them running the show all day, every day, 24/7, taxing our ass, becoming plenary authority over the Indians that they created and not even addressing the real ones, us who don't want to be part of their system or shouldn't want to be, really should not want to be, because that's how they have plenary authority over you when you're under them. We don't want your authority. You weren't even given that authority, Congress, and my video will be seen as what? Terroristic against the government. Are you kidding me? You're the one that's acting like a terrorist because you are sitting in those seats doing God knows what that no one gave you the authority to do. But when you remove the authority by calling them black, then you can do what you want to do, right? But as I was saying, what was I saying? Once the Moors genetically modified the Caucasian, he is now coming to do away with the dragons. He's the dragon slayer. And we literally read that about when we read about what we read about dragons or ape. I forgot but they say, oh yeah, it was about the different forms of Quetzalcoatl. He said they were friends of the Mongols, the dragons. But they were kind of, with the Indians, they were kind of like not for the people. Now they said the Mongolian dragons were for their people, but when it comes to Europeans, the Europeans slayed. They are dragon slayers. That's the job that the Moors gave the royalty of the Caucasian, the ones who they made royal. they would become the dragon slayer. Because now they're doing something new. They realize, okay, we got to get rid of all dragons. We just did that because we didn't have the Catholic Church popping yet. And, and of all the deities known to Tarmarians, Apep was a dragon. So we coming after the Tarmarians with their worst deity, which was a dragon. So what is that? What am I saying? What the Moors did was they filled up the heads of the Mongolians with love of a dragon deity. They know we are here being, we're struggling here. So, because I believe they were fucking with us even before the Mongols arrived. I don't know how, but so anyway, they knew we were in a fallen state, shall we say. So they populate our lands with these Mongols who are worshiping the very deity that we knew to be malevolent. So here you have the original Indians that no one's talking about that were here, that were us American Indians as Tarmarians. We know the dragon to be our worst deity. Okay, in our cosmology, the dragon is what stopped the sun from coming up. So that's how bad that deity was in our cosmology. But we have the Moors showing Mongols to love up on a dragon. So they redesigned our worst enemy into a benevolent deity and flood our land with these Mongols worshiping a damn serpent or a fucking dragon. That's how they were attacking us Indians in ancient times. They had these Mongols loving and revering a deity that we despise in our cosmology. Oh my God. Ancestors ain't playing today. They are not playing today. They are not playing today. I didn't even think about this before. It was in my head, but it just never came out like this. That was the whole mission of the Mongols. They brought a dragon to our shores way before Columbus. They were burying us way back then. And I'm telling you right now, in as much as the Maya were worshiping a dragon, they were influenced by the Moors, the Mongolian Moors. The Maya are at a crossroads because they're still half with our ancient Tarmarian, but they're being infiltrated. I wanted to believe that they weren't, but I knew they were. So the Mongols, again, they didn't get really popping until the 1200 BC, right? So that's before the Olmecs, or right at the time of the Olmecs, right? So them wasn't us either. That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, we go back as far as we can and we claim them, but I'm telling you, we can go further back. And the time frame that the Olmecs appear, or when they are said to have appeared as a civilization, not just their heads, but their civilization, was circa 1200. That's when the Mongolians were popping, y'all. So the Olmecs are Mongolian creation. Okay? Okay? Okay, so we can toss that. We can toss. See, when you go back far enough, Indians, you can take a greater jurisdiction. You see what I'm saying? If you take a jurisdiction that the Moors gave you, you're still living in Moor land. You want to know why? Why does he go back to Tarmary so much? I don't want to talk about Heru and Isis and or Aset and all of them. We don't know nothing about them. Yeah, because they were erased from your memory. Y'all are right now, in as much as y'all are talking about Amaru, you're still worshiping a Mongolian creation. That's a Moor. That's a Moor. The Moors, I think part of the reason why they love reptilian shit is because they act like they are slimy, slithery, liars. Now, in the Mongolian Empire, they gave the snake, the dragon, they gave him like wisdom, and that's what he's known for. But on the other hand, if you're using wisdom in an incorrect way, it can be deceitful, right? If you're using your knowledge and your wisdom to lie, then the snake becomes something different, like a dragon, I guess. All I know is that Apep is the deity that the Moors are revering. When I tell you that the Moors are worshiping a malevolent deity, and I tell you that the Mongols are loving up on a dragon that was our worst deity, you got to connect them to Apep. Look up Apep. I challenge indigenous to Google Apep. A, P as in Paul, E as in each or every, P as in Paul again, Apep. That is your first version of Amaru. That is your first version of Quetzalcoatl. That is your first version of Kukulkan Khan. So that was a more Mongolian Moorish creation that we still think we were. See, what they did was they dropped the Mongolians here, and then they pick up telling their history, not ours. They are turning the Mongols' history into the history of America, which it is not. So what am I saying? I'm saying the Moors were here way before Columbus. Way before Columbus. They were infiltrating with the Mongols at that point. That's what the Moors were doing. That's what they were up to. And they were rocking with a dragon deity because they had not yet created Jesus. They had not yet created Moses. They have not yet created way before Muhammad. Oh, he's like the last thing, way before that. So, our video took a turn, and I feel like I'm going on so long that maybe I should let this be a video in and of itself and just stop this and start next with the video that I intended, because I know this is going to be long. So yeah, that right there, that's just a gift of the ancestors. Okay, that's how I see it anyway. I really do, because I feel like it helps me solidify what I knew when the ancestors allow me to speak, freely, and to let them say with my own voice what I'm saying, so maybe, so that's I want to show you. See, now I'm okay. This is why it's even more important to go to Tamari, because the Maya were infiltrated. Okay, they were a different people, number one, and they were infiltrated. And so again, in as much as they accepted Kukulkan Khan as one of their major deities, that's the extent of their infiltration. That is a Mongol creature, a Mongolian deity, the dragon. So right now on Earth, we have people worshiping Apep. If you want to be really real with it, anyone who's worshiping a dragon, that's a worshiper of Apep. And Apep, he's not Set, but he would be a consort of Set. They're both against the people. Apep is more dealing with the elements. Apep is an enemy through the elements, like thunder, lightning, bad weather, fire, bad weather, that's Apep. Set is more the human negation. Uh, Set is more, you're going to have, that's where your Moors are taking personhood. But Set has a whole weather, you know, connotation because he's the god of storm. So it's almost like Set, the dragon is the pet and Set is the master. You know what I mean? Set is like he's the human thing that is controlling the, when they say in the Bible the man gave the beast life, it reminds me of Set because Set is more of a human element. That Set is giving you a person. Set has a human body, although his mind is his head is made up of a mythical, unnatural, out of this world, out of the civil world. His head, in other words, his mind is, he has a human body, and he is a brother more. Uh, but his mind has been given to everything it could think of against his own people because he's a jealous brother. He does not like his position. Whatever the Moors were at their inception, somewhere at their inception, they were disagreeable. They didn't like their lot in life. They wanted something that their brother had. Got more written all over it. So again, even in the legend, this is why Tamari is important. It will tell you what Quetzalcoatl, indigenous, are you listening? Now, when you get all this talk about we was worshiping Kukulkan and Amaru and Quetzalcoatl, I'm telling you what I've learned from the ancestors. Thank you, ancestors. That's all Moorish. It's Mongolian Moors. Re-educated TV, he re-educated my ass. He gave me the indictment that I needed. Now, I didn't make it this way. The Moors did. Just because I indict you doesn't mean that I did anything wrong, okay? I'm calling you out for what you did. That's why I could never be a Moor. I've given you like a zillion reasons in this video alone, I feel. I could never be a Moor. They're on the wrong side of right, okay? And I'm not saying I'm the freaking Christ or that came to save the world. No, I'm not. But I am acting on behalf of that energy. Oh yeah, that's who Heru was. He's the first Christ. He's the first Immaculate Conception. That's why you gotta know these things, indigenous, even if you don't accept them, you gotta know them to know why you are being treated the way you're treated. What in my bloodline makes this world hate me? Well, it's a world that the Moors created. If it looks like it hates you, which I don't believe it does. See, the Moors, they brought this stuff into existence, but I want to say humanity is always trying to err on the side of right. Even some of the things that a criminal does, if he tells you why he did it, you'll be like, oh, in his mind, he was trying to do something right. But see, the difference between that kind of person and the Moor is the Moor has a motive. He has, whereas these other types of demented criminals, it's just something in their life, in their current life, that they are trying to fix, and they doing it in not the right way. The Moors, they are dealing with something, a bloodline issue that goes back centuries. They have, it's like there's a larger motive, whereas a common criminal, he's not going back in fucking freaking time. He's just looking at the world around him, and he's probably wondering, like some of them do, why? Oh, I'm sorry, and this is not against Caucasians. Caucasians, just understand that this is all about the Moors up in this house, because I know who my real enemy is, and I know it's not a white man. Okay. So if I say something that sounds like I'm coming for white people or Caucasian people, That is not me. That is not what I'm doing. I need to go to the source. So what I was going to say, some white people, um, they are angry. Some of these killers, I for some reason I'm recalling that one of them, he didn't like, what was it? I hope I'm not. I'm recalling something where one of these people, they were one of these like mass killers or whatever. Oh boy, I don't want to recall it wrong. Then but something where he was actually mad at white people is what I'm trying to say, and and was trying to get rid of them or something. I'm recalling something like that. I'm sorry. You see, and so he doesn't know about the Moors. So what I'm trying to say is a criminal like that, they don't know that whatever you see a white person doing and you don't want to be part of that, or you commit suicide or some crap because you feel like I'm not, I don't, my life ain't about hating on white people, so I'm ending my life. Maybe that's what it was, some kind of suicide thing. I'm recalling where the person, they just, I don't know, something I'm recalling but I'm not recalling it to the in a way that I should be talking about it. But they don't know the history of why the white man is in a position of appearing to be the slave master of quote unquote black people. Who put him in that seat? That's my question. Forget what he's doing and what it looks like he's doing. I became of a mind like, well, who put him there? And when I learned that it was King James, maybe that's all I needed to know. That's all I needed to know. And then the Moors talking their bullshit, knowing too much, knowing that I'm listening to them, thinking to myself, well, if you know that this legal system is doing this, you would have been the one that was most fit to come up against it, because us all little dumb little black folks, all we know is picking cotton, right? We don't know about the workings of the law and the government. What they doing is what they ain't supposed to be doing anyway. So it's a good thing we didn't know, because we'd be really pissed off knowing that they're going beyond the scope of their jurisdiction. But the Moors knew this all the time. They knew it all along. And remember, the Moors are the ones who recognized the United States, right? And then when the United States veers off into becoming a self whatever serving entity, do the Moors step in to check it? No, they don't. So that means the Moors knew what this corporation was going to morph into, and they didn't do anything to change it. What did the Moors do once they found out that the corporation, say for instance, they didn't know? We're going to pretend they didn't know what was going to happen. Let's say once they found out what the corporation was doing, was their job to attack the corporation or set it right? Or was their job to run to us Indians talking about, well, you got to become a Moor? What do you think, Indians? I know you know the answer, but we're going to let the Moors ponder that, because they're going to say, well, no, the corporation is good. It's you that got to change. That's in their world. That would make things right. But as Indians, our task is much bigger. We have to stop the injustice. You see what I'm saying? We don't cater to it or coddle it or co-sign on it on the down low. We have to come in the house and say, wait a minute. What were your enumerated duties again? See, that's what the Moors should have done if they were our friends. That's what they should have done. Again, what did they do instead? They came to our doorsteps, the people, the ones who are being crushed by this tyrannical corporation. They came running to us. They needed the corporation to apply the pressure so that they can run to us and tell us the solution. That's called the Hegelian dialect, boo-boo. Okay? That's what that's called. So what did the Moors do? They did the Hegelian dialect on our ass. They didn't try to change the system. They didn't try to make the system right, but you know what? They don't have the authority to. They don't have the authority to. They're a foreign entity. They don't have the authority to change it. That's why they're not us, y'all. Now they're gonna swear to you that if you was us, you should have been at the Congress right away, pronto, telling them what their enumerated functions were. That's what you should have did, Moors. Fuck you, Moors. You hear me right now? I want to say it so it can be heard. I say fuck you. To hell with you is really what I should say. Y'all would probably like the fuck it. To hell with you, Moors, and all of your bullshit. If you look at what the fuck they're about, you would never want to be one of them. They were supposed to address this system. They were supposed to be at Congress telling them what their enumerated functions were. Since you recognized them first, you were first in line to recognize them, Moors, but last to check them. Fuck you, Moors. Fuck you. The hell with you. The hell you created is the one I'm putting you in. There was no hell before you came. There's a story of the Panari Indians that Brother Nagin, Ray Hagen, he told us about the Panari Indians. Who are the Panari Indians, brother? Thank you, and said, oh, he's not dead. Forgive me, Ray. I'm not putting you in the ground, brother. You did too much work showing us about, and he did come from, now he was a Hotep brother, because he's thinking Africa, right? But I'm going to tell you, he dropped some pearls when he talked about these Panari Indians. I'm not a Hotep brother because Tameri is America from facts, okay? I'm not going to say in my mind, because it's a fucking fact. I'm not a Hotep brother. Hotep brothers are taking you to Africa. I'm putting you right where you belong. Right where you've always been. And don't get it twisted. I'm telling you what I am. Do not put words in my mouth. I just told you what I am. I am not a Hotep brother. So just cut it out. So the Panari Indians, who were they? Now, I don't think they were our indigenous people, but they were a group of Indians at some point that were being colonized. They were, okay, so they were the Indians that were probably worshiping Quetzalcoatl, the other hijack. So that's what they would have been, because we were never recognized as who we were as the first Indians, right? So these Panari Indians, don't get it twisted, they're not us, but they are those Indians that were still rocking with Quetzalcoatl or Amaru or one of those types of deities, Storm War, chaos deities. That's who Panari Indians evidently had to be. Because why? Because when the Christian church came to them, they didn't know what hell was. They had no word for hell. So what did the Christian church do with the Panari Indians? Let me see. I'm going to have to mute my mic for just a minute. Just a minute. I'm back. Sorry about that. The little background noise I was trying to avoid. The Panari Indians, they had no concept of hell. So why am I saying this? I'm saying in general, there was no hell until the Moors introduced it. And one example of that was the Panari Indians, who didn't have a word for hell. Panari, P-A-N-A-R-E, Panari Indians. They created a Bible for the Panari Indians that told them that they were going to be thrown into the great fire. This is what the Moors did. When you connect the dots and know that the Roman church ain't nothing but a Moorish creation. It is. That is a fact. That's a fact. So they had to first create a hell to put the Indians in, even though they were Mongolian Indians. They had to create a hell. See, and why would they transpose, what do you call it? converting these Indians because now they don't want them to worship Quetzalcoatl no more. They got a new god for you now. That was the old one. We done updated. So now our Mongolians, we giving them another deity. We taught them to love up on this dragon, but now, yeah, I'm just gonna call it the dragon. Okay, I should call him Apep. That's what I should call him, Apep. All the other names are secondary. The Moors trying to hide his identity. Okay, and again, y'all watch out. I'm telling you right now, y'all people who have deities that you're not supposed to say their name and all of that. I'm telling you right now, watch out. Watch out. Watch out. There is no system, ancient system, where we cannot know the deity's name. So I'm just giving you all a little warning. You might have some Moorish shenanigans. No, you definitely do. See, I gotta get that change from my own language. You definitely do. If you having something where you can't say the name, you can't know the name, and blah 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 blah, it's too holy. No, it ain't. It's too demonic. That's more like what it is. Someone who's holy and good, they're gonna want you to know who they are. Someone who's working some other nefarious bullshit, that they don't want you to know their name for a couple of reasons. Because if you know the name, you're gonna have some authority, or you know the word thing. That's why the Moors renamed everything with they have a renaming thing going on, and they renamed Apep Kublai Khan. That's his first machination as but the funny thing was, even the Maya, they still saw him to be a storm rain deity. He was still, it's just an odd thing that would be, they would see something like that as good. It was Apep in disguise. And that's how the Moors are connected to Tameri, y'all. When you wonder why I keep using Tameri, because the Moors are very familiar with Tameri, but they taking the malevolent deities and turning them into good deities so that they can lead the people astray and then lead us away from the truth completely and have us be dominated by their nefarious bullshit. So that's why Tameri is important, because that's where the deities are coming from. You trace them back to Tameri, all of them, good or bad. But in our case, as Tamerians, we knew the nefarious ones, and that was Apep and Set. They were the most nefarious. And I still think that Apep is just like the puppy of the pet of Set. What I was going to say before, in the myth, Set is the one that fights the forces of Apep. But then I thought about that. But Set is a storm war deity himself. How is he going to fight a storm being like Apep? Or how? It's because he has control over Apep. You see? He is the master of Apep. So in our myth, he is on the boat with Ra, not Amen Ra. Now, don't get it twisted. Amen is a creation of the Amen priesthood, because they're compromising Ra, because they're going against Ra. So they make him second. He becomes Amen Ra. You don't put nothing before a king's name except his name or maybe his title, but you don't call him Amen Ra because you're superseding him. If anything, it should be Ra Amen, because he has to come first. So already Amen is a problem. Okay. It's a creation of the Moors. Bottom line, it's a creation of the Moors. That's what Akhenaten was before he changed to, here you go, creating another deity, the Aten. So now he was Amenhotep the fourth or the third, I believe, before he changed his name to Akhenaten. See why Tameri is so important, y'all? Y'all want to know why I'm taking this authority? Because I can. And who is he? Who does he get to talk like? How are you telling me what it is and what? Because I can, because I went far enough to do it. If you ain't going to 3400 BCE, family, you don't have nothing to say to me. There's nothing you can say to me, because you're talking on behalf of infiltration. You're talking from the time of infiltration by the Moors, and I ain't trying to have none of that. So a lot of you indigenous, you don't even know that you're doing bidding of the Moors by insisting on going back to the Maya. You got to go back further, and when you go back further, I'm telling you right now, all you're going to find is Egypt. Now, they call it Egypt. We call it Tamari. That's all you're going to find, y'all. Whatever you're looking for, you better find it in Egypt because that's the only place it exists. You mad at me for showing you your history? You mad at me for linking you to the greatest civilization on earth? You done lost. You got a Mongol mind. Then, if you have a problem being linked to the first throne on earth, and you don't see why that's going to get your ass kicked each and every time, I can't help you. I can't help you. Mad at me because I'm putting a crown on your head. Really? Well, that's why you're a slave. That's why you're a slave. Because you won't go back and pick up your own white crown. You think it's a foreign. That was a lie to make you a slave. It was a lie told to make you a slave because they knew you was the first king and queen. They knew it. That's what the Moors knew. That's what they know. And they call themselves the custodians of your legacy. Huh. What does that mean? They know all of this that I'm telling you. They know it. They just don't want us to know it. They won't tell it to us until we say that we're a Moor. Then they will talk about Tamari. Because they know you ain't going to get that crown. You've denounced it. You've denounced it. And now they can take it. That their whole game is taking your shit. If you haven't figured that out yet, even their own government. Now, we will learn if I ever get to the videos that I was supposed to show you tonight, that the government is supposed to protect your property. What do we have? A government that supports foreclosure. They don't step in to stop it. They don't do that. That's the Moors' MO from the beginning. To take your shit, your crown, your glory, your name, everything. Everything. And make you a slave. And make you think that you a king now, that you're a slave. You know what? I'm just going too far right now. You know what? I shouldn't have to. And again, I don't mind for people who just don't get it. But to a point, it gets me upset. Because it's like, I shouldn't have to. It shouldn't be this hard convincing a king that he's a king. It shouldn't be this hard convincing a queen that she's a queen. It just shouldn't be. That's why I should have it. You hear me, ancestors? I'm joking, but I'm not. Well, they already gave it to me. You know, I'm not trying to brag. If the ancestors have me saying this, they've already given me my due. And I say that without arrogance. I truly do. I despise arrogance. You know why? Because of the Moors. I despise it. I do. Because now I equate it with them. So if I'm coming off arrogant, oh God, tell me, because we got to change that around. No. I'm not trying to do that. You know what? Sometimes I've been too humble. Is the real thing. You know, with the sin narrative going on, thinking that I'm the worst sinner and everything like that. No. What the answers are showing me is that no, we've elevated you way beyond that, brother. Don't worry about that. Don't worry, nothing about that. What they tried to tell you. Don't even figure that. I feel like the ancestors are saying, nope, you're just the type we need to just as you are. You know, and I say that with humility. Humility to who? The real ancestors. When that name Heru, when I took on that name, I'm not going to go into it, but I saw a whole paradigm shift. A whole paradigm shift. I used to call myself a god. Oh, I regret it. But if you recall, I'll admit it. This is how I'm telling you I'm not arrogant, because I'm going to tell you what I was rocking before I became Heru. Before I came into the knowledge of it. I was calling myself Amaru, y'all. I was calling and it's okay. I'm going to give myself a pass because that is the next oldest thing that we know. And that's all we know in America. It's Amaru, Quetzalcoatl. I might as well call myself Kukulkan, Khan, or I might as well call myself Quetzalcoatl. They're all the same deity. But then the ancestors took me out of that. And that was one of the worst things I could have called myself if I'm trying to align myself with my crown. That was the worst things I could have done. And that's what I did to myself with the indoctrination of the Moors. You see? You see how they have infiltrated even those who are trying to get at the truth. They go far. They go as far back as the Maya. Again, how so? Because the Maya had Kublai Khan. So we know that they were worshiping Apep. If you go to Tameri, you will know that Kublai Khan is only Apep, a storm deity. And Set is master of the storm. So that is why he's on the boat with Ra. But you see, he's working on behalf of our king. That's why Set can only be a secondary king. But he's not a king at all. Osar is the king. Oh, let me get that right. When you know the deities, now you know what I'm gonna. Y'all gonna get mad at me again. Why are you pulling up them demon deities? We don't believe in them. Well, sorry. You're gonna take a look at the gods. I'm sorry. Sorry. The great. Let me see if I can pull them up. Now I done changed the whole video, but that's good because I can. That means I get to rename it. I was gonna name it something else, but okay, we're gonna take another look at the deities, okay? And if you can't stomach this, okay, tune out. Bye-bye. All right. You just won't know. You won't know. You'll stay a slave. Basically. That's where your crown came from, Tameri. That's where it came from, y'all. That's the oldest. And that was in America. That's all I needed to know. Okay, so I'm going to go. Now, when I pull this up, I'm pulling it up for reference, but don't get too lost in how they look. They were all copper colored, okay? But I want to pull this up because I think, wait a minute, is that the main deity? Wait a minute. Ooh, wait a minute. We don't want this one. No, we definitely don't want this one. I done pulled up the wrong one. I done put up the wrong one. Oh, no, we don't want this one. We don't want that one. Because the one I'm looking at right now, it has Set like he's the middle guy, like the main guy. Nope. Nope. That's not who we want. Okay, I'm gonna look for one, y'all. Give me a minute. I'm not gonna see I would show it to you, but I don't want that to be the image you see. I don't want you to see Set as the middle guy. But I'm telling you, I just pulled up one and I thought it was the one I wanted, but it's definitely not. Set is the malevolent deity, so we're not going to want to make him center. But see, in a Moorish paradigm, he would be their center. That's why he's in the center. He would never be in the center if we were in the house in our proper persona. They always talk about proper persona. Yeah, well. Okay, so which one can I bring up for you that'll work? Let me see. Then it have to be big enough. Like, let me see. That big, I need it big so you can read it. Some of these are a little bit too small. This one is a little small, but I'm gonna go with it for okay. Um I want to make it bigger, but I can't. This is how big it is. Let's see. Can I make it bigger? I would have to save the image. I have to save it, and I don't feel like doing that right now. I don't. Okay. Just bear with me, please. I humbly ask, please. I just have to show you uh the deities. When I talk them, I have to show. I have to show. So I just want the one that I think. Okay, let me see. Is this the one? Okay, I think this might do, I think. And it's actually the one we looked at before. So it might be good to repeat it. Okay, so let me share my screen. Um uh I still need it to be bigger though, y'all. But bear with me, y'all. It's not the biggest, but you can still read it, okay? So I'm gonna share my screen. Okay. It's not as big as I would like, okay? But I like this because it shows the the authorities and the level. Now Ra. Now, like I said before, I don't know if we want to put anything in front of his name. I don't believe he had anything before his name in the most ancient times. It was just Ra. Okay, that's a hijack right there. Atum is some kind of a hijack. Okay, but some people say that means Adam. There's no way in this hell that Adam this would be Adam. No way in hell. Okay, so Horace Butler, I believe, said that Ra is really Adam. No fucking way. That's a creation of the Moors. Adam is a creation of the Moors. That's why we know he's secondary. Ra is primary. Okay, so Ra, that is there was another deity called Ta, and I kind of think that Ta Mary might be also named after him. Uh, we would have to look up Ta because he's also a sort of a how do I say? He is like Ra. He's very similar to Ra, but he was even more. I believe he's more ancient than Ra. But we're gonna go with this for now. Maybe we'll pull up Ta after. Because this is the one that we're dealing with mostly is Ra anyway. When we call him Amen. But I'm telling you, his real name is just Ra, just Ra, nothing else, just Ra. Okay, that's the most purest form of his name. So then we have Shu and Tefnut. Shu is the air, Tefnut is the moisture. Okay, um, those are elemental gods or deities. Geb is the earth, Nut is the heaven. So male, female, male, female. That's how they were. The gods were. They were technically like they were like siblings, but they they were the masculine and the feminine. Feminine. Okay, so then from there, these are all elements. The top five: Earth, um, heavens, the stars. Like she's like the universe, maybe. Tefnut is moisture. Shu is the air that we breathe. She is the moisture in the air. He's the sun. Ra is the sun. And they call him Egyptian. They would have been Tamarian. So he's seen as the sun. Uh Geb again. Okay, sun, air, moisture, uh earth, sky, heavens. So now we come to what we're seeing as the mortal primaries. Nephthys, Osar, Aset, called Isis, and there's Set over there. There's Heru. So I'm pretty humble, right? Because I'm at the bottom level there, right? Heru he's not. I'm not calling myself Ra, but now we got some brothers. Now they're going to start calling themselves Ra. That's all right. Right now, Heru is and I am Ra. We all Ra. But right now, the energy that I call on is Heru. Why? Because he's the one that fights and reclaims his legacy from this dude, Set. The Moors are rocking with this deity. How so? That's why I pull them up, because I want to give a visual. So Set is jealous of the true king, Osar, who, as we see, wears a white crown. I'm sorry, I have to get you all this work. I'm sorry. There's the white crown, belongs to Tamari, Americans, Indians. Once they are fit and willing to own their whole ancient legacy, not the one that begins with Quetzalcoatl or Amaru or Kublai Khan. We go further back to Osar. But when you go with Osar, you also have to have his family present, right? It was very family oriented, okay? And very nature based, right? If that's the air and earth and the heavens and the moisture that is necessary for the air, in the air, and there's the sun, right? Very nature based, as indigenous always were. So now it comes down to the real kings, the actual kings, that these are the earth beings, okay? That's what they're said to be. Now, these were all elemental, but these were said to be the earth beings, okay? So he's the earth king, Osar. This is the king, I might say, in heaven, Ra. On earth, this power is transferred to Osar, the firstborn. Set is not the firstborn, evidently, because this is the king right here. Set would be like Yakub, the one who wants the birthright of the firstborn. And indigenous, you are the firstborn, whether you like it or not. But I'm here to tell you, the only way you're going to supersede all this Moorish crap that's trying to take you over is if you go back to this. I know you don't want to hear it. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I'm here for the coronation. This is what the real corona was. Taken back of your crown. Where did the crown begin? Now, they know in Set's world, he done made corona a very bad thing. This is Set's world right now, right? Until indigenous are ready to take this throne. Can you handle it, indigenous? You too afraid of this? Too foreign for you? Well, because you've been a slave for so long. That's why this royalty is so foreign to you. Okay? But I'm here to tell you it's yours. Tamari, thank goodness for divine providence, Horace Butler had to give up the truth in his book, When Rocks Cry Out. He's telling us that all this began in Tamari, and that Jerusalem is named after this dude right here, Horace, but we called him Heru. Okay? Oh my God, his name is on your land, and you don't want to own it? Tamari, you think we can win without it? Indians, you think we can win without taking our crowns? You think they're going to settle for anything less than us asserting our authority with a crown? You saw what they did with our authority as Black people, right? But if we were Indians, this would connect us to this stuff. It's very layered what they're doing to us. And as I said in one of my other videos, if you notice, even when they put you in Africa, they make sure you're not in Egypt. So it's like you keeping the king away from his crown. Even in the live version, even in the out of Africa version, you're keeping us away from that crown because the Moors want that. So they called it Mediterranean. They called it North Africa as if it's not part of. So what I'm saying, even in their live They don't want you to have this crown right here. You see the crown on that brother's head, but baby, you better take it. It is yours after all. If you don't, this right here is going to take it. He's waiting. This is what the story is telling us. This is what the story is telling us. This is what the legend is telling us. The Moors, under the guidance of Set, create a whole religion. First, it was his pet dragon that he made the authority as the Mongol Empire worshipped. As we said earlier, that's why I'm showing you all of this. Set is the one. He's the that's his pet. That's his little his what do you call it? His companion. The dragon is the companion of Set. He's the only one that when Ra, this dude up here, is trying to make the sun appear, he uses Set to calm Apep. He uses Set to get Apep to chill. But as you see, you do get rainy days, right? You do get stormy days in weather and in life. So he doesn't always do such a great job of keeping the Apep away, right? But at the same time, there is some use for that energy. Some. It is not the primary energy. If it rained every day, what would we have? A sea jurisdiction, right? Because we'd all be under the water if it rained all the goddamn time, right? And the Moors would like that in their sick way, because then when the water recedes, they're going to talk about, oh, we was all started off as water, so we have the authority. No. Shut up, okay? Just shut up. Shut up that foolishness. So that's why we need this type of authority, right? We don't want this to rule, because then you're going to get a flood. All floods, you could connect that to this energy right here. This is the storm. He's the one who, again, on the boat of Ra, this is as the legend goes, if you ever cared to learn it, it's there for you. Indigenous, it is there. If you're going to talk about it, you might as well learn it. Even if you want to say it's not you, you got to know what it is first. But it is you, unfortunately. Sorry. I'm sorry that you're the first king. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you're the first queens. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I guess you just have to deal with me accordingly. Okay. I'm so sorry that I'm here to put a crown on your head. And I know some of our are more arrogant indigenous. I don't need no crown because I got a feather. Again, that feather will get you only so far. Okay. It will only get you so far when you're dealing with that is here hell-bent on taking your shit because they feel like they were first. This chart right here will help you to see that they were not first. This is where they would begin right here, okay? Okay, Set is their beginning. Okay, and he was not our friend. So I want to show that the first crown, there is no other crown. There's no red crown here. Now, Aset wears a throne. And that is basically saying that the king would rest upon a throne. This is, I guess it's a way of saying, we could call Aset America in a way, the one who birthed us. So the throne might be the land itself. It's where the king has to be on the land, right? So Aset might represent, that's a throne she's got on her head. That's a throne. This is the crown. Okay. So in other words, anybody could sit on the throne. It could be this dude, which is what we have really, or it could be the firstborn. And I don't mean to try to make light of Aset, but technically anyone can sit on the throne, right? And that thing on her head is a throne. I know this, okay? So who is it going to be, the rightful heir to sit on the throne? Or is it going to be the Moors trying to take everything until the Indians take their place? It will be set. And as long as we are scared of and think that this is all from the Moors, I'm here to tell you it's not. That's everything I do in these videos, is trying to make us see. They trying to make us think that Egypt, just because it had a throne, that had automatically that was the Moors. No, it wasn't. It's just the throne that they want and the throne that they need to dominate with. It wasn't theirs. He doesn't wear a crown. And so the Moors created a red fez, or yeah, because look at this. When does the red crown come in? There's the red crown right there, okay? That's the first time you see the red crown. It's a secondary crown because his father, now this is his father. That's why I didn't get to this yet. But Osar and Isis are a pair. This is their child. This is the Trinity right here. This is the Trinity. Set's consort is her, Nephthys. And she wears an upside down throne. If you look, somebody pointed out to me that her throne, what she's wearing is like an upside down throne. Because this king, he makes the world upside down. Like the map made upside down, it would be a product of this energy. So then like it looks to me that the throne is upside down and it becomes some sort of a cup that she's wearing. You know, I don't know, but I see red and I see white, and it kind of mirrors this thing. He got the red and white crown. So it also looks yin yangish or something. I don't know. But all I know is this is the throne and that's an upside down. So in other words, what it's looking like, these two are the positive and rightful heirs, and that is their rightful progeny, he's the rightful heir of this Trinity. These two are like an opposite inversion. Her thing on her head is like an inversion of Aset's throne on her head. Again, he has no crown. So this is the king regardless. You know what I'm saying? And it's a matter of making sure that this is what rules, not this. Because it looks like when this is in charge, then this upside down world. Look at that. Well, now I can see. Well, wait. No, that wouldn't be that would. But I was gonna say, you know, that red and white design kind of says something too. You know, it's just interesting. But okay, so these three are the first Trinity, the real Trinity. We didn't talk about Ampu or Anubis, because I think his role is really in the afterlife. He's known as the one who guides you in the afterlife. So he comes into play, I guess, you know, in life, it's going to be Heru. In death, this is going to guide you. So what does that say to me is that we don't have anything to fear in death, because once the king was murdered by this dude, he became God not only of the real world, but of the land of the dead. So he would be there, and this is the good guy. If anything, you wouldn't want him to be in the land of the dead, right? Because that would be hell. If he's there, not so much. He's going to do what's right, right? So these are both his children. The true king has heirs. Set doesn't have an heir. How did this come into being? Because Nephthys disguised herself as, they look very similar, right? The legend says that she disguised herself as his true consort, and they conceived Anubis or Anpu. Okay, so Anpu is still a child of the king. Set has no heirs. That's why I began to wonder when we go back. These are for my Hotep brothers, but I hope that my Hotep brothers will turn into Tameri brothers, in terms of you'll understand that the Africa that you're giving glory to, the Egypt in Africa that you're giving glory to, that belongs to Americans, because that's the second Egypt. The first one was Tameri. Okay, so Hotep brothers, if any are out there, I want to say, if you are up on it in any way, might you see where Narmer might be set on, a king that is looking to, that's the first time you have a king. And I had to, when I read it, I was wishing I didn't read it, but it said that he became king of Upper and Lower Egypt by force. So when I look at this design, if Narmer is actually a red crown wearing king who just took over, and he had no heirs, is Heru that first Hor-Aha, the son that's said to be the son of Narmer? Could it be that the story is really telling us about those kings, but Heru was not his biological son? So, but look who's wearing any crown. Heru is wearing both crowns. So he is a full-fledged king. It could be that Narmer got involved with Aset and had Heru. Could that be it? But it's like Horus, his real father. I'm sorry, no, that couldn't be it, because Horus's real father is said to be Osar in the myth. All I'm saying is, in real life, when Narmer is that first king of Upper and Lower Egypt, he's wearing both. He's the first king to wear both crowns. Although I never saw Narmer wearing the crowns, it said he united Upper and Lower Tameri. So either Narmer is Horus, or Narmer is the stepfather of the king that had the white crown. What I'm saying is Heru, or Hor-Aha, the first son of the first king that united Lower and Upper Tameri, maybe it wasn't Narmer's biological son. Is all I'm saying, that to say that. Because in the second dynasty, it's already Set is taken over. And I was shocked to see that happened in the second dynasty. So that's what I'm thinking. The second dynasty is when Sumeria. Wait. No. The second dynasty. Yes, it is when Sumeria is on the scene. Yes. That's the two kingdoms. When they say that Sumeria didn't have a king until 2900 BC circa, or in the 2000s, they're talking about Set kings. Before that, the 3400, it would have been Osar king. So by the second dynasty, we have Set ruling already. He takes over rather quick, even in our own history, but that's also when the Mayans appear. So I'm thinking they are also a Set people. What's not being talked about is the original Americans, who the Negroes are the bloodline of those people, not the Mongols. It looks like, again, that Maya were Mongols that were still practicing some of our traditions. You see, until gradually, by the time Maya turned into the Inca, now they're taking more of the Moorish legacy. And then by the time they become Aztec, now they're practicing human sacrifice. They've gotten so deep into a set APEP religion that now they're actually sacrificing human beings. And that's what we saw in one of my videos. It was the website we were looking at said it was only Aztecs that practice human sacrifice, and that would make sense to me, because the further you go back, they would have been Tameri, and Tameri did not practice human sacrifice. So I wanted to show this to show why Tameri is important. It has a whole system that predates Amaru, the Maya, anything that the Moors created. Now the Moors are an offshoot because this is their deity right here. So the Moors are connected to this legacy, but they're the ones that are against it because they don't want the true king to rule. So that's why in the story, it is Set and Heru who are fighting for the throne here. He's the rightful heir. This one is the one who murdered this guy so that he could become king, but then he has to deal with the offspring of this union, which is Heru, who is the rightful heir to America. That would be the Indians. That's why I feel, look at Heru, look at his skin. He's the rightful heir though. Now Set has the same skin. The Moors look just like us, right? They have the same skin tone, but they're not the firstborn. This is why Tameri is important. If you want to deal with Moors, you got to go way back, because that's what they're doing. They call themselves the custodian. This is what they're hiding from you, all of this. This whole story, it's in their package, but they don't talk about it. And when they do, they're going to take you to the 18th dynasty, when they broke off, and that's when they were, started making Africa great again, or whatever. The Moors are what made Africa great. I will give them that accolade, okay? That you can have, Moors. But look at Africa now. Look at what their look. They are basically having to rock the poverty look for the sake of the Moors, who are they're trying to make our land their land. They don't want none in Africa. They want the goods and the throne that's over here, because it's the first. That's why Tameri is important to indigenous. The Maya won't do it. This is my message, apparently, today. I thought I was going to do something else. But again, if we go into we say we the first, right? Well, we have to go to the first place to claim that. If we can't use the Maya. Unfortunately, we can't even use North America. Our bloodline, our bloodline goes back to Tameri, but the landmass, in other words, there's nothing really in North America, that is really being the origin. And now America, all the Americas we know are one landmass, and one, whether it's South America, Brazil, Canada. But what I'm saying is our culture began where Columbus found us. That's really where the in that area of Brazil, and the Caribbean, and South America. That's why the Moors sent Columbus there and not to North America. Now, North America, once we started flooding North America, we moved to north. That's when now we have a second colonization with King James and the British monarchy. So they're following us, right? Wherever we go, they come, you know, trying to take over, so that we don't have clear clarity to know what our true legacy is. They're trying to mix in Britain and everything. The thing is, Britain didn't exist when Columbus was here. Spain was the first thing in Europe, even before Morocco. So the Moors, I think they're lying about where they got kicked out to. When they got kicked out, I'm inclined to believe now that they ended up in Spain, and then they later on created Africa in Egypt, Egypt and Africa. Sorry, but Spain is really, that's where Spain is. It has to be older than anything in Africa as far as the civilization goes. It has to be. Again, because that's who's coming to America. Well, they came in the 1400s, and again, it was the Mongols. So yeah, no, that would take us back to sort of a East Asia framework when we deal with the Mongols. Excuse me. So the Mongols predate Spain. I'm sorry, I must be getting tired. So yeah, the Moors were first all up in the Mongol world, and then yeah, so maybe that's why they're saying Samaria was first, because when they got kicked out of Tamaria, I think they ended up more in Samaria. And then they came and created Egypt in Africa. But no, the Egypt and Africa would be too young for, for that either way, everything outside of America is a Moorish creation or influence. And I'm talking heavy influence. And the Moors, that's why they took us out of history, because ours was older. So they wanted to start where they began, not with us. That's how we know they're not our friends. No matter how much they smile in your face and make their videos talking about I am you and you are me and we a happy family. No, we're not. No, we're not. You did everything. If you guys really knew your history, like you say you do, you know that all you did was come up against the American Indians with them Mongols. And you've been doing it ever since. You creating a different phenotype so that you can sort of come back and say, oh no, but they're your enemies and we're your friend. No, you brought them into existence. They were you genetically modified their genes so that they wouldn't look like you. And you look just like us, Indians. That's why, again, look at this here. Heru looks like Set. They have the same skin tone. So the Moor can come to you and say, look, we family. Yeah, but you've been fighting and trying to take over my legacy ever since you've been in existence. So no, you killed my culture in the King Osar. You kept my mother, Aset, so that you can get your progeny. But I'm the progeny of this union, not anything you did, Moors. So you're just, again, the battle between in our ancient story is between Set and Heru. And the Council of Gods, would have to be all of these, agreed that Heru is the rightful heir. That's why he's wearing two crowns. But if the Moors can get you to not ever pick up even their right red crown, see, that's what it is. They trying to say that our crown, our highest crown, was a red one, and they offering us. Okay, to their credit, they're offering us a red crown. But the thing is, they're not dealing with the white crown because they murdered the king who wore it. You see what I'm saying? So they don't even talk about the white crown, but that's the one that we would have, as well as the red crown. So we would be over the Moors, but they are trying to be over. Why are we over the Moors? Because the gods, the Council of Gods, agreed that this is the heir, not this dude. Just because he was older or he was, older than Heru. Heru had parents that this guy murdered. Well, he murdered Osar. He didn't murder Aset, but she had to be on the run with Heru. She was on the run because he would have killed her, basically. I don't know. I think that if it's not an outright murder, it's just a brainwashing. In other words, the way Set comes at us now, the king, is through a series of brainwashing. I am you. You are me. We are brothers. That's how they do it. Brainwashing. But that's why I resurrect Tameri so the Indians can know you don't have to go. You do have a crown, but don't ever think that you have to take the Moor's crown because you're supposed to be wearing both of them, according to this legend, and it is the real thing. That's why Tameri is so important. We have to take this crown because it belongs to Heru, and Heru, his land, his holy land, was called Jerusalem. It's now called Machu Picchu, his holy city, but it's on American soil. So that's a legacy for all indigenous Indians based on our landmass. With this, the rightful heir that wears both crowns can be found in Machu Picchu. That was the ancient holy city that Columbus came to recapture, and he did, because he renamed it. They renamed it, call it Machu Picchu and all of that. They got the Mongols all up in there talking about they built it. No, the fuck you didn't. You were dumped there by the Moors. You didn't build shit. You didn't even have a language. So that's why it's another thing. The Inca didn't have they didn't have a language. They didn't have a writing. That's what it is. They didn't have writing. So who's saying that they built Machu Picchu? Somebody that's speaking for them, but they don't write. And they never. So what am I saying? The Inca never claimed that they built Machu Picchu because they don't have a writing system. How could they? They have a number system. Okay? That's all they have. So the Inca did not build Machu. That's why the Moors couldn't give Inca a language. Because their language, their writing, because in their writing they would have had to have talked about Machu Picchu. Moors think they're so slick, man. They think they're so slick. Not in this day and age when the corona, we've been crowned already, y'all. Indigenous corona was talking about us getting our crown. And we can't half step on this. If we coming for against this corporation, we got to come with the enumerated and we got to compare. You say that you have plenary domination over Indians or authority. Where in your enumerated functions did we give you that? So it's unconstitutional. So that means all you damn federally recognized tribes, you are not constitutional tribes at all, even though you're called that. If we Indians take back our true authority, we will create our own. That's what we were supposed to do. That's why we're not part of the federal system. What's the evidence that we're not part of the federal system? They were not to tax us. They only tax what belongs to them or what they created. And they weren't supposed to be creating different federal tribes. All you federal tribes, you're fraud. And the fraud is evident in that you go by a blood quantum that don't make no damn sense. How you gonna call your Cherokee tribe but you take anybody whether they have Cherokee blood or not, or just one drop of it, 1/8, and that Y'all don't see the fraud. That's why we don't want to be federally recognized at all. It's just a fraud. All federal things are fraud. We don't need their recognition because it's like a fraud being validated by a fraud and a liar. And you know they're going to lie about you. That's why we got to have our own thing. And it's not that hard at all. You know why it's not hard, Indians? I'm going to say it, and I think I'm going to start to close. It's not hard because anything we do, we're allowed to do. In other words, even if we messed it up, the feds can't come for us. They don't have the authority. They have 18 or 19 enumerated functions. Being our Lord and Savior is not one of them. Telling us what to do is not one of their functions. Okay? We're not even supposed to be taxed. Why? Because we're not under their jurisdiction. We have our own. All we got to do is create it, whatever it is. But what does that mean? That means even we can't use their corporate model is what it really boils down to. But whatever we create is going to be good enough. It doesn't have to be a corporation to get respect. In fact, it won't get respect in a corporate model. We don't need any accolades to become, in other words, when we look the last video, the brother talked about unincorporated commercial entity. When the government was when we first established the federal government, it was not corporated. It wasn't incorporated. And when it did, it took us away from the Continental Constitution. The Continental Constitution, clearly it had a common law thing going on because it could deal with men and women of the land. But once you became incorporated, you can't deal with men and women of the land unless you change their status to that of a United States citizen. And now you can mop the floor with them motherfuckers as they are doing. So I just try to say it in different ways to let us know that we, as indigenous, we have the right, whatever we call our organization, it doesn't have to be incorporated. In fact, that is what's going to make them have the dominion over us if we, stay as like a corporation or as a United States citizen. So we can recreate ourselves, as once we claim our true sovereignty, because we're not supposed to be even enumerated in the why can't they enumerate us indigenous, or why can't they tax us? Because they have no authority over us. And if we keep giving them the authority by becoming a corporation, because as a corporation we do owe them some kind of tribute, so we can reverse that once we get more knowledge. We just reverse it. We say, nope, we've decided as the primary authority, and we can decide this. It's nothing locked in stone. We can change it. We're the authority, not they had 19 enumerated functions. Telling me what to do as an Indian is not one of them. So if I change my mind, I can do that with no penalty. You better not think penalty. You better go back home with that shit. As long as you're on this landmass, you will serve me. Now, if you're looking to be a royal, whatever, we don't have that here. No, we don't. It's not like that anymore. No, you do that in your neck of the woods. When you have what you refer to as the United Kingdom. Okay, so go over there and do that to those people, and watch how they run out of your jurisdiction like flies running to the shit. No. So you have, so in other words, indigenous, we are free from, they can't penalize us when they are already outside of their duties. If they go any further, they're going further out into the era. They're going further outside of their authority. To penalize? What are you talking about? Penalize? What? What? You better take that penal stuff somewhere else. No, there's no penalty for me as an indigenous. I'm not even in your jurisdiction, and then after the Constitution was created, even your subjects were not your jurisdiction any longer, because they had declared that they are a sovereign. and we allow them to be sovereign on our land. Why did we do that, indigenous? Because we didn't want a monarchy to come think that you're going to use them to then get to us. So that's why we had to make the foreigner sovereign, because as long as they had a king, that king is going to keep trying to come, and they still do it, even though they found a way to do it anyway. But the idea was we helped them break away, because we realized we can't have, if we let a monarchy rule these people that they dumped here, they are going to come for us. So we got to get on board, unless we're going to deport all these people, which I think we still have the authority to do that if we want to. If we want to. But again, these people, they were just being, dominated by a monarchy. They didn't want to come here. I think what happened was they could either come here or face a jail time. So they came here under duress, okay? These people, the ones that, really, those pilgrims that were here, this wasn't their decision. They were at home in the UK, okay? They wanted to stay in the UK, but the UK had plans for them. King James had plans. First of all, I do believe they were Indians, but they had lived in the United Kingdom so long that they became European. And so King James, he deported them. He called it a deportation. So in other words, they were never seen as full bloods in the United Kingdom either, because they were deported. And the ones who, were the prisoners, they were given, either you stay in prison here in the UK or whatever, or you go to America and do what we need you to do, which is basically take over these Negroes' land until we come and elevate you to a higher position. You just go in there and make babies and do all this, be a nuisance, and then we'll come and But what happened was, we Indians, we realized we're going to have to work with these people. First of all, they look just like us. That was the other thing. So we must have saw that they were us, and we decided, no, we're going to help them to break away from this monarchy, and we did. But the monarchy had other plans. The Moors had other plans. They knew how to infiltrate a corporation because they created a corporation. And that's why I'm saying we need a new model that's not corporate. That's a dead entity that cannot deal with living human beings. Why can't we have one that deals with human beings? Why not? But that would be up to us. See, everything the Moors do, it has to be recreated, because we're the true authority in the land of the living. We're the authority. So the Moors have to create a dead world where they can begin to be like an authority. And on that note, I think I'm going on and on and on, and I think I'm going to should I do like a little bonus video to lead into my next video? Maybe I will. Let's see. Let's see. Let's look at this. Let's look at this. This will be like a teaser, I think. Like a teaser. Let me see. Yeah, because I want to say some things. Now, this is from the state nationals that I learned so much from, right? But I want to, let me see, or do I want to play that again? To play and again or that? Okay, let me do this one. Let's do this, because I think there's some things to see here, okay? Let's look at it. Fair use, fair use. This is like a little lead into what I think will be my next video, and then we'll revisit it again. So let me play this. Is it at the beginning? Okay, it doesn't have sound, so I don't think we need sound, right? But is it playing? It's still buffering. This is on the State National's website. Let me see. I think all they had is music. Is it playing? It's still generating. Fair use. Okay, there it is. It does have a little. Your government. Your government is supposed to be staffed by you. Okay, we want to stop for a minute. Who is the you? If we're not part of the federal system, who is the you that the federal government is looking for to staff? Now, mind you, I had to look at this and reevaluate what I was reading and do it under the understanding that you could read that side stuff too. Most of this is for the pilgrim, for the foreigner, okay? Because if we are outsiders being taxed, then this doesn't apply to us, right? So let's read it. Let's look at it again. So in other words, we got our own shit. This still doesn't apply to us. Let's go back to the beginning. Your government. Fair your government is supposed to be staffed by you, pilgrims, not Indians. Its decisions are supposed to be made by you, pilgrims, not the Indians. Now, mind you, we could sit in on the stuff. Now, see, we as the primary authority, we would be entitled to oversee this. We would. We are the authority on the land when we take our true identity. But why would we want to maybe sit in on this activity? Well, it's almost like a guardianship that we take over foreigners, right? We want to make sure that everything is running right in our landmass, right? So we would sit on this and we would even take notes and bring it to the tribes. You know, okay, they're talking about this now. This is what they're fitting to do. We would need to know because a lot of us are still living in these states that the foreigner created, right? But we, even in the states, we have supreme authority. This is what I'm learning, family. We don't know how big our sovereignty is, but Heru trying fitting to tell you. You know, really. Once you get the basics and then the ancestors do the rest. Like the ancestors got me talking before I even know what I'm saying sometimes. Because the thing is, they're giving me the basics and they in my brain to help me use the basics. Now, when I found out that they had only 19 enumerated, you know, what do you call it, functions, they're not even supposed to be dominating the pilgrims that much. You know, this is for the pilgrims. I'm sorry. I'm gonna, just for the sake of conversation, I'm calling the foreigners pilgrims. Would you? I don't know. What would they rather be called? Pilgrims or foreigners? I think pilgrim sounds a little better. I don't know. So again, this is their setup, right? But I would think that our high chiefs would have to sit in and make sure shit is going right. You hear me? That's how you run your, that's how you're an authority on your land. If they're still going to be here, you got to be sitting there watching everything they do. Now, the pilgrims are not trying to be dominated, so it's not that we'd be against the pilgrims, right? But still, to make sure that even the pilgrims are not getting it twisted. Because this would be a government run by them, okay? It wouldn't be, now the pilgrims are saying that they're supposed to run their government. Right, that's true. But again, the Indians would have an authority to be there to oversee everything. You would have, in other words, everything the federal government is doing now, the Indians would be, that's a drop right there, y'all. That's a drop right there. Oh my God, Indians. Whoa, 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 whoa. Have a seat, Indians. I'm about to drop this on you right now. Everything the feds are doing, the way they're collecting taxes and all that, that is supposed to be us. So in other words, the pilgrims would still have an uplink. It would be us. So in other words, everything the federal government is doing, they're doing it in a nefarious way and unlawfully. But once we take our true position, Indians, I'm trying to show you what your true authority looks like. Because I've come to realize that I'm not hearing any of our indigenous talk like this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I've not heard it yet. When we take that seat, and we saw why we have to take that seat no, that's not the one I want to show you. If we look at that white crown. This is why we would oversee all everything. Heru, with the Heru energy, but based off the white crown. Heru is the true heir of the white crown, but notice he's wearing the red crown. So that means he's governing the foreigners' crown. They had the red crown because they were brought here by the Moors. Every infiltration was by the Moors, and they would wear this is a crown they created. And what I want to say about this crown is very deceitful, because if you look at it, it's mimicking her crown. The Moors have that red crown. If you look at it, it's a throne as well, but it's an illegitimate throne. It's an illegitimate throne. Either way, Horus is supposed to dominate that seat as well. That's the whole. When you take the white crown off, you're looking at a chair, which I believe is her crown. So what am I saying? The Moors are wearing the female's crown, but they just redesigned it, made it red. But that we saw the 3D version of it, and I remember when I looked at the video again, I said that 3D crown, it looks like a seat. So they created a new throne, and they call themselves that, like they the seat of power. No, you're not. The crown, and that is the throne, if any throne. So this red throne crown is either way, Horus is in control of those two. Okay. Now Horus is the heir from this. That's his mother. So anything she got, he is going to go to him as well, and everything his father got is going to go to him. But once he battles Set, I believe that's when he gets this crown. Because remember, Set was wearing all the crown. Well, he's not supposed to. That's why it's not on his head right now. But once he won in the contendings between Horus and Set, he's wearing the crown. This is who the Moor has to deal with, us. We're the rightful heir of Tamari. And that is made evident in the landmass where Machu Picchu is. That's the city of Heru. So the crown stemmed from there. Okay? Okay, so back to that video. So yeah, the drop that I just got was, we would act the way that Congress is now acting, more or less, but we would be doing it not in a nefarious way, because it would be us that collect the tax from the with representation, though. You know what I'm saying? We would do it how the Constitution said, but we would be the authority over the foreigner. So any taxes collected, that would be indigenous. That's how we own our land. You pay us. You're on our land doing business. You are on land living. And so we enumerate you. We would be doing that, not the federal government. And we would collect the taxes. You see, indigenous, I need a mic drop or a bomb drop or something right now. That would be very nice, but I don't know how to do that. So who am I talking to? No one. I'm talking to the ancestors. But indigenous, this is the way we have to think. If we're not here to take all authority, we might as well leave it. We're going to be dominated again, because they're going to know that we have stepped, and they're going to know that we still don't know what we're talking about, else we wouldn't have half stepped. We would have full stepped. Okay, indigenous, think of it this way. You are the federal government, indigenous, but you would be doing it the right way. You would be the one enumerating the pilgrims. That census would be us taking it, because we want to find out who's on our land, right? That's what it was about. That's what it was about. So we want to make sure. Now that's where we will decide. Once we take the enumeration, then we would decide if we're going to open our borders or shut them down for a while. That's how you own and operate your land. That's how you do it, indigenous. We don't want a half step and where we still being dominated, and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren are still being dominated. That's what you want for them? Then don't have them. because you're dooming them to a life of what you got until you are big enough to be your federal government. Now, what am I saying? Why I'm realizing now the federal government took our place. Those functions that they're taking, we got to look at them because that's actually what we're supposed to be doing. But we wouldn't do it nefariously. That's the difference. We wouldn't be doing it just to make money, right? It would be a tribute, but it would be for any foreigner that's living in somebody else's country and getting a lot of benefits from it. So we would just collect a tax based on enumeration. And that tax would go for our Indian affairs. You see, that's how we would help keep our posterity up. But, also we'd be doing our farms and stuff, but that would be kings of the land, kings and queens. You get paid the tribute. That's who we are, indigenous, if we take the white crown. Now, if we insist that all we had was a feather, then you don't get tribute. Nobody's going to pay you because you ain't taking the authority. And you mad at your brother Heru for telling you who you are? You mad at me for calling myself Heru when I know that that's how I take my legacy back? And now the ancestors done gave me a drop for all of y'all. I didn't even get this before I started talking to y'all. So the ancestors are literally using me to get a message to you and you rejecting it? That's how it looks like to me because I never even thought about this before. So now I didn't know how it fit together. If something was formulating, I just didn't know how it fit together. But now I see. The Indian is supposed to be the federal government. Like, I'm calling it that, but that's not what we would call it. We might call it the federal Indian government if we want to, but that would be, in other words, we don't have to worry about the feds because we are the true feds. They are just a stand-in. Once they reclassified us, they took our place and then they started taking all our taxes. That's why they're so rich. We're supposed to have that kind of authority on the land, indigenous. Do you want that, or do you want to continue to play games with the Moors? You tell me, because it really depends on how you maneuver, how we're going to spend the rest of the next 25,000 years or so. That's how the priests, they go in 25,000 year increments. So if we bullshit and we don't take full authority, they're sitting right there waiting for you to fuck it up. Okay, they're just waiting for us to not know what our authority is. I just got the drop today. Now, again, we're not going to do it like the feds, but when we do it, it would be right. You know what I'm saying? It would be right because this is our land and we are the first people of the land. So if we collect taxes from the foreigner, that would be a right and good thing because you're on our land, you're making use of it. We need to that's at our expense somewhat. You get to live and we gave you sovereignty. Now, no, we're not coming at it as we are necessarily kings and queens, but we are the authority. So if you pay taxes, that's for us to run our nations, or our nation, our Indian nation. That's all. And then you get the benefit of that because you're paying for it. And yet we get to a portion of that to live as well, because our land has been opened up to you by our enemy, and then we fought with you against that common enemy. And so for us to continue to be dominant on our land, we don't want the foreigner to see. Now here's the thing that the foreigner has to get real with. Now this, and I'm not getting mad at the foreigner, I'm not, but it would be like this in any place. They would not want to be taken over. This is their birthright. So they're not going to want to just have you come and populate until there's none of us. And the ancestors they already fixed that problem because we are the dominant on the land anyway. We are. But none of our people should be on the street if we collected taxes to help our people, our Indians that are not doing so well due to this domination and this occupation. So the foreigner should be happy to support the bloodline. You should be happy for the first time in history. If the Indians get this right, you will know your place. And we're not saying that your place is one to be slaves to us, but we're saying you're going to give us some of that posterity you're having because you're on our land. That's how America is supposed to work. Now, Indians, you have the roadmap. I've just given it to you from the ancestors. You tell me in those comments what you think, why you don't want that. You just explain to me, because I really need to hear this. Why don't you want to run your country the way a boss would run his country? This is our country, y'all. It's not a free for all. People don't just get here, come here and live, and we don't get paid for that. If you find in your life bread and butter on my landmass, that's why I'm going to collect taxes, because I'm supposed to be the one that's prospering as well. And more so than you, because you couldn't get it in your homeland. Thank your father for that. Thank the Moors for that, because they tried to make you use you to take our place. That's what they tried to do. So I'm sorry, your father did some wrong dealings, and unfortunately, the sins of the father somewhat do fall on the children. We're not going to do you like your daddy did. We know that he's a fucking foul, but we're going to do things right. And as long as you live on our landmass, we're okay with that. But you will be paying us taxes. That's how any nation survives. That even the feds knew that, but they taxing you like to make you slave. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. If there any taxes are going to be collected, it's going in the Indians' pocket. And that's the part that we, the Indians, are confused, and we don't know where do we fit in? Are we to pay? First of all, my Indians, I see y'all want to pay taxes. So I know that y'all got it wrong. I know that you have no clue what sovereignty. And you know what I'm gonna drop in your lap right now? You're gonna say, why did the ancestors tell me what they told? You might wonder to yourself, how come I didn't figure that out? You know why? I'm going to tell you right now, Indigenous, because you are close to Tameri. You only get this kind of drop when you are connected to your ancestors. You won't get it. They're not going to give it to you because they know you don't know how to use it. They're dropping all this in my lap because they know who I'm going to give heed to. They know who I'm honoring. Them. And on that note, you know what? I'm not going to even play the rest of this video, but I should, because well, no. Yeah, it does go off in a different direction, but this is the pilgrims saying how they would like to be a new, but they did agree to taxes, some, but it would be by what they call it, representation. That's what it was. It was tax. You if you're going to tax them, you gotta with representation, So, in other words, what the ancestors just gave me, and I don't want to come up against the Indian. I'm sorry, the foreigner, because I know, again, foreigner, this is not to put you down in any way, and it's not to take advantage of you. But in other words, if I came to your land, your homelands, this is how you would do me, and you would have a right to do me that way. Why would you want me to come in your homeland, your actual native land, and take over? You wouldn't want that. So you'd have a system in place that I can live happy, but I don't get to dominate you, right? So I will always have to have the upper hand. That's just the natural thing to do when you're a people living on your land. So the model of the corporation, Indigenous, we are supposed to be at the helm of that, not the Moorish people. So in other words, we are the uplink, and we will be the one running our nation, somewhat like how the federal did us. But we would do it in the right way. We wouldn't be here to, for instance, like the federal government is, like they're doing now, telling people what jabs to take, having a school system, a public school system. Although I do think it would be nice for us to educate the world, we might have to have a public school system, Indigenous. That's our prerogative. But what we want to do is every school, oh my God, look what the ancestors are doing. I'm sorry, Indigenous, we would have to have a public school. So we will have to mimic the foreign government to a point. You know why? Because we have to educate them the right way. In our schools, what they would learn is about our history, Indigenous history. Instead of learning about European history, that would not be taught in our schools. So we would have a school system, Indigenous, but we have to only because the foreign entity had one, and they educated. So we're going to have to re-educate, like re-educated TV did to me. And we're going to have to tell them what land they're on and why they are paying taxes to us. What has happened on this land, right, indigenous? So tell me, what indigenous out there disagree with this? And you tell me why. I really want to hear this. And I know there's some smart ass Moors that's going to answer it. You will not, your answer will not count. I think I'm going to be able to sniff you out pretty quickly. Okay? I think so. So, indigenous, that is the model that we're looking for. This is why, yes, I believe what we did or what we do with the lawsuit is very necessary. But that's just the beginning. You see what I'm saying? And then the tables have to turn. They are no longer the authority on the land, indigenous. And that's just the bottom line. We can try to play patty cake with this motherfucker as much as all they're going to do is keep smacking us down. We're going to be trying to play patty cake, and every time we think they're going to clap our hand, they're going to punch us out. And when we wake up, we will be slaves again. When we play patty cake with the corporation, one of their little hand claps become a whole fist, knock your ass up, put you to sleep like they said they did. Remember that now. They put you to sleep. Put you to sleep. And then when you wake up after playing patty cake, you're going to be on the bottom again. This time, you're just going to be an Indian on the bottom. Okay, you want to be called Indian. Okay. You're still at the bottom, and we're running your household. Indigenous, the ancestors just used my mouth to tell you how we're going to run this household. We have to take the position that the Fed government has hijacked from us and run amok. You know what? That drop was so big that I'm not going to finish this video because it's going to take us in a different direction. And I just needed to see that for the we'll pick it up next video. But again, that's the Pilgrim talking about, their business, but they don't have a business without our asses being part of it. You see, that's the part of the American nationals that I did not get until just now. I'm thinking that, they got their own thing and that's good for them and da da da. But I realized when the Indian takes his place, it's not their own thing. They still have to deal with a boss. It's just a lawful boss and a just boss. We're not going to take advantage of the Pilgrims, Indians. We're just not going to do that. Why? Because we're not the fucking Moors. So what we do will be right. And when we levy taxes, it's going to be because we need them, not because, we can, So I just realized what the Moors did was take our place. But some elements of their government, their foreign government, we are supposed to be in charge of that. We are supposed to, yes. No foreigner gets to come here, even if they're state nationals. They don't get to be, that's the part that's missing in all of this. Like, as I watch the state nationals, I start to think they're the authority. Because they doing shit and they making it like and they will be. In other words, okay, so now we get rid of the feds, but now we have these state nationals, and they kind of see themselves as that they're just like us. And they're not. Again, if I go to China, I'm not just like a Chinese. I'm going to start to mold into their system. They're not going to cave into mine. So that's the model that America has to take on. See, for years, the Moors have made America like it's the world's breadbasket. That's the farthest thing from the truth. No landmass on this earth can be the world breadbasket alone and yet hold down the original people. No, if we're going to be a breadbasket, you're going to have to pay us. Whatever you have, trade, whatever. You don't get just to take and not give back. That's the logic behind this. It's not that we robbing y'all. It's that it's a give and take. Now, if you making your whole life earning on my resources, I got to get paid for that. In some way, we'll make it some kind of rate. But when you're doing more, you give more. When you're doing less, you give a little less. That's the fairness of it. It'll be like a percentage, like they do with the taxes. Only thing that would be going into our pockets, indigenous, not the feds. We would be the feds. The feds got to go, y'all. I don't care how much you all want to kiss their ass. They will never do what they're supposed to do. Not on this landmass. They are here to pillage and steal. That's why they're here. You think they came to what? Organize for us? Organize our office for us? No. They came to take whatever they can steal and get away with it. So that's the drop for today. I think I'm done. I don't even want to play this video because of what the ancestors just put in my mouth. I don't even want to play the rest of this video. That's the icing on the cake. I need to hear from people about this. I'm talking about indigenous who get it. So feel free to comment, okay? If not, that's fine too. But yeah, that's what we're doing for today. March has been a very interesting month. I realize it is the new year for indigenous, and I think that's why this got to start the year off right? Spring is coming. We got to figure out the type of authority that we have to have. Yeah, once we get paid from our lawsuits and all of that, or a lot of indigenous are suing apparently. So that then we have to reestablish what will be a real federal government run by us only. And the foreigners will still we will have authority to step in on their meetings. But we won't do it in a disrespectful way. It's gonna be like a nation to nation thing. We might have to reinstitute treaties with the foreign. Oh, in other words, see what I realized in this video, indigenous, and I need somebody to back me up on this. We have to take a dominant role even with the foreigner. But again, when I say that, I want to say not in the way that the federal government did. It's similar, but it's not in a way where we're robbing people. You know what I'm saying? It's putting some kind of boundaries, because we don't want our land to be taken over by foreigners, no matter how nice they are. This is the only thing. This is all we get, folks. In other words, everybody has a landmass. Well, the Moors, unfortunately, the Moors put people in places that became their homeland, right? So that's unfortunately, where your daddy puts you. That's where you belong. So we each have a place where we belong. If we step outside of those places, or if we let other people come and there's nowhere else for us to go. Like Indians don't have another landmass to run to. So we have to maintain dominance on the land. That's why we have to, because we're not going to have the foreigner erase us like your daddy tried to do. And unfortunately, for the foreigner, the Moor is your daddy. He is. He is. He meant. I can't say he meant well. I wish I could. He wanted his intention. Okay, your daddy's intention, foreigner, is to have you replace indigenous everywhere so that he can take the proceeds. And what we are telling the foreigner is that is not allowable. That is not right on anybody's landmass. So that is why the indigenous are here, and that's why we have to impose ourselves even on the state nationals level. We have to take the authority to make sure that we are the authority on the land, and we will be. In other words, we would do it in what I want to say, in a fair and equitable way. That was going to take us indigenous. It's going to take us really striving to not take advantage of the foreigner like the Moors did. If we just do what they did, we don't have the authority to tell them not to do it. You see what I'm saying? All they're going to say is, well, we would have the right, the standing to do it. But again, we don't want to do what they did to us to other people. That is the idea. Yet we still maintain authority. However we do that, we just have to figure it out. And on that note, I think, oh, we got a little pop-up. I think we're going to stop the screen share. This was enough for today. Okay, I realized it really is. Oh my gosh, I started, it's probably a 3-hour video. So thank you for watching. Wish you health, wealth, prosperity, love, joy, peace, your land back, your identity back, and all good things. Thank you so much. Peace and blessings.